Double check that everything looks good. Doo-doo. Oh. Mhm. I see, I see, I see. Alright. I'll play a little bit. What we got going on? Clamlets on these maps. There's a zone rotation. I do want to mess with the more swim speed, like zooming. I'm too fast. The only thing is I'm not running any I'm not running any of the Inksaver sub. So if I throw 2 bombs, I can't really proceed. Unless it's like a 2000% completely done. Yo, Saf. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome in. The certified gamer. Keeping the whole stream safe. Let's go, let's go. Hope you're doing well. Did I get a haircut? I did get a haircut. Indeed. My wife hooked me up. I owe it to her to style it at some point. Yo, what's up, brother? White? Do I even have a white headband? I'm gonna be honest. I don't know. Oh. We do, actually. We had a gray and a white. Thank you, thank you. Much appreciated. Alright. So like I said, I'm trying out 2 mains of swim speed, so I'm gonna be zooming faster than I've ever zoomed. And I also didn't paint for specials, so funny things are about to ensue. But it's clam, so we're chilling. Can't really push past Slither. Sick. If we just survive. Well, I just looked at both comps. Oops. Alright. Still warming up. And other cope you say to yourself? The things we tell ourselves. Let's have crab. I don't even know, like, what I'm doing to get value out of crab. There's one person over on the left, but I don't want to get sniped. That's unfortunate. Yo, what's up, Free though? Hello, hello, welcome in. I feel like our Tench is using their tent on cooldown. I feel like they don't necessarily have like a plan in mind. Oops, but I jumped. Can we dynamo? Flash damage, OP. Wait, is it the Lakers and Warriors? It's so weird. I only keep up with sports through TikTok. I used to love watching sports, but I don't really watch anymore. I'm gonna go for this raid flank. Gives us a nice, cute angle. Gives us a really cute angle. Can I get a clamp? Any clammers? Any clammers? Any clammers? Any clammers? Any okay, that works. Jeez. Oh, Suns Nuggets. I see, I see. Do you want the Suns or Nuggets? I'm gonna be honest, I don't know who's on either of those teams. I watched basketball when like Steve Nash was still playing and was on the Suns for a bit. I don't want to jump on a snipe. This game has just been so weird, like no one's really doing anything. Not that it's necessarily a bad thing, but there's only a minute left and I feel like we're one wipe from just completely losing, which is totally accurate. Which having a crab would be nice. First try, nice. Imagine getting sniped. Nice. Wait, someone else respawn? Not so fast. Oh, they probably got the juice. They got the juice. I'm gonna get dynamoed. That person just threw their life for me. Okay. Woo. Let's go. That was silly. Your splash games? Can't remember. What sets did you end up, what's it called? What sets did you play Splash in? I don't remember. Are you talking about solo queue games? Sets? Huh. I have to look. I actually don't remember what sets we played. Yo, what's up, Ankura? You have a replay? Let's go. If you wouldn't mind joining the Discord, inside the Discord there is a channel. So there's a template in the submission rules that shows like the replay code, match type, a couple pieces of information, should take like a couple seconds to fill out. And then if you can create a post in the VOD submissions with that template, then yeah, I can definitely look to get that reviewed. We do have one outstanding, which I'll probably do here momentarily. Yep. You know, you played in a museum. Wait, we played museum? I don't remember. I have to look back. Oh yeah, that's what I was doing now. I was looking at it. Let me see. Kind of worries by yelling at the computer screen till the clock hits 0. Nuggets up 30. Sheesh. That sounds before they traded for KD. Now even more so. Wait, who did the Suns play last year? I remember last year in the playoffs there was like there was some scuffle or something that happened in the stands. There's like 2 fans that were going at it. But I remember one of them was like a Suns fan. I don't remember the other team. But like that set was crazy. Or at least the confrontation was crazy. Wait, was it? I think it was Nuggets and Suns. I don't remember. Nuggets best team in the playoffs? Not surprising they're smashing. Oh wait, are they that good? Jokic? I don't know how to pronounce these people names. Unguardable. Murray sounds familiar. Sick. It's a winning game, but I need feedback. No, like winning's totally fine. I forget what to type. Wait, what do you mean? What to type? Oh, the Mavs. Yeah, anything that's a machine, you definitely were playing machine. No, it's machine. Good look at this game, but I don't know. Do I still have scrims? Well, we could look at this game. Okay, we got KO'd. Sheesh. Maybe that's good to look at. How about this one? This one you popped off. This one will make us feel better. Copium. A lot of machine. That game was just bad overall. I don't know if that's worth looking at. Alright, we can definitely look at Scorch, and we can probably look at Scorch and something else. How do I type it in the submission channel? So at the top, there is like, it says search or create a post. And there's a little blue button that says new post. If you click new post, it'll allow you to type a title, which you can just put your name or whatever. And then in the message, if that's where you can copy and paste the little template. And then we can work from there. Noob. What's up, Lomo? I was lurking a little bit in your Phoenix Wright gameplay. It's so weird watching that in HD. Because a lot of those cases I haven't seen since I was playing on the initial DS. So it's been a minute. So playing Phoenix Wright with another person is always I don't know. I've never done visual novel type stuff. I guess it's not really a visual novel, but it kind of is, but it basically is. Yeah, Momo's the GOAT. It was a very wholesome and enjoyable experience. And kind of like you were saying, I don't even like remember the ending of it all. You posted it? Okay, let me see. Let me see. New post. Is this good? So I need to figure out. Let me see. Yes. If you could fill in the rest of the info here, would be help me out done. So I just posted the template in your little like post thread thing that you created. So I see like you have like the mode and everything. I can fill it out. I guess the main thing is like the rank that the biggest thing is the rank that you're at now and like what rank you're trying to get to. And if you have anything specific that you're looking to get fixed, I can technically get the weapons and maps and everything, but I copy and paste that information from other places. So we'll play one more game. And then we can start looking at a couple of reviews, because I think 3 reviews is probably probably be the quota for tonight. And we got 3 lined up, so sounds good to me. I really know the ending. I like don't remember anything. It's been long enough. Case is super long and drawn out. No, the culprit. Gotcha. Stamper. What the rank are you looking to get to? Because I'm guessing S+1 is what rank you're at now. I don't know if you're trying to push an X rank or if you're trying to hit something specific, but if you had any of those details, let me know. Thank you for the lurk, Limo. Much appreciated. Yo, man, hello. How are you doing? I saw you post a poll about what MOBA you were interested in playing. Actually, I did not see the results of the poll, but whatever that third game was, I don't know if I've ever heard of that. I don't know if it's newer or if it's like a mobile MOBA. Hopefully you find the game that you enjoy. I've played League and I've played the other one, Pokemon Unite, and both are pretty fun. Hope you're doing well. Eternal Return, yeah. Oh, MOBA and Battle. Wait, maybe I have seen someone play that before. Oh, so it was Nuggets and Suns. Okay. Oh, that's a ballpoint. Oh, I'm dead. Oh, it's a competitive ballpoint. I'm definitely dead. Alright. I'm gonna be honest, I can't really push this. Okay. Hello? What's happening? I'm gonna be honest, I cannot aim currently. Holy. My sensitivity feels way too high right now. I think that means I need to warm up. Just feels super slippery. Yeah, we have no front line. Good thing I'm running run speed or some speed. So I'm the closest we got. We're playing against a bunch of mid range, so maybe it's not that bad. Cool. I need not all my teammates just sitting on plot. This is gonna become problematic at a certain point. Oh shit. Oh, we have a bubble? We have a... Okay. I'm gonna be honest, I don't think this game is at all winnable. Okay. Yeah, this is gonna be a quick KO. This comp is actually, like, I don't know how these comps are made. I'm gonna be completely honest. Alright, maybe we play one more. That game is crazy. We could have pushed potentially with a whale. Like, if I'm using crab, I need people to push up and no one on our team wants to push up. It's not necessarily a recipe for success. Unfortunately. Higher power and X. What X power are you right now? Oh shoot. Yo. Alana, hello. Sheesh. 105 million strong. That's crazy. How was the stream? How was the video games? Welcome in, everyone. Oh shoot. Guess we can start with the review now. We're gonna ignore that last game. That was us getting absolutely smacked. I'm guessing you're gonna be... Yeah, I thought I saw you playing Splatoon, but I know that we're getting close to the Zelda time. So that'll be very interesting. But right now I'm gonna punch in a replay code and we're gonna start going over some replays. But let me, yeah, no, go ahead, get your sleep. Yeah, be prepared for tomorrow. It's a long time for all of us, but thank you so much for the raid and the support. Always appreciate it. And I'm sure I don't have to tell anyone here who Milan is, but you know, Splatoon gamer, Nintendo connoisseur. If you watch any of the competitive Splatoon tournaments, you may have seen them commentating. I remember a while back, I think you like posted a tweet or something about the fact that you like saw yourself on like the Nintendo Switch, because it was like one of those like news posts or whatever for the Splatoon like tournament. And it's just like, I don't know, that's super cool. But you know, you're a pillar in the community. Much appreciated. There's so many people. There's so much support. Holy macaroni. Ryage, welcome in, and thank you for the follow. True Love Jenny, welcome. Zerkasi, if I pronounced that correctly. Welcome in. Your stream is surrounded. Holler, welcome in. If I mispronounce your name, please just correct me. I'm just gonna say Suki. My pronunciation's so bad, I really apologize. Thank you for the well wishes. Much appreciated, everyone. League of Legends winning the poll. League's a fun game, contrary to popular belief. All right, so we have the replay code from Reese. Let me get that punched in real quick. And if anyone joining us would like a replay reviewed, all you need is a replay code. I talk a lot, so I'm only able to do a certain amount per stream. And I think we've hit the quota for this stream, but we don't have any for the next stream. The only thing that I ask, and you are totally welcome to leave the Discord after you've posted, but I have like a little VOD submission area just to keep all these codes organized, because I try to like review the codes during stream, and then on like my YouTube channel I'm like condensing them, because sometimes I can talk for like an hour or 2 hours. I'm trying to work on that. I can appreciate and respect people that can get their point across very quickly, but I take a little bit of time, so I try to cut down and condense it. But you know, I want to have all of the content available in the stream in its longest form if people enjoy that. Plus, if you're getting your stuff reviewed, you are able to you know, ask questions and be here and everything. And you get to play a lands. Yeah, exactly. Like Mana's saying, there's like registrations and stuff. There's a LAN going on this weekend, at LTC. I actually don't know what the main stream is for that. Does anyone know? Because I think last LTC was like Beyond the Smash or whatever, but I think they like disbanded. But I was at LTC last year and wasn't able to make it this year since I moved. But yeah, they should be streaming the Splatoon, especially like the finals and everything. But they'll be streaming matches like all throughout the weekend. I don't know if anything starts tomorrow. I think it's usually Saturday, Sunday, or like the big events. But they have stuff for the people that are there. But LTC's at like a resort basically, so they're like going on like water slides and all the Splatoon competitive community is like chilling at the bonfires at night and everything. Super fun. That resort was really nice. It was like the Kalahari or something like that. Anyways, Splatoon and video games and everything else. But yes, thank you again for the raid. That's super, super kind. So we're looking at, oh my, what is this team? What is this? What is happening? So we're looking at the Tetra here, and we're looking at a lot of Booyah bombs and pain in our near future. But I think as a Tetra, like, we're definitely going to be in a really good spot. You know, our mobility can help us navigate around the bubbles from the blob, and our range plus mobility allows us to outrange the arrow sprays. So we should kind of be eating them up this game, but this is definitely these are interesting comps across the board. I definitely like blue team's comp a little bit more. We're playing TC. I don't think that changes anything. It makes me like Clash Blaster a little bit extra. I heckin' love Clash Blaster. All right. So the good thing about this comp is that it's very short range. So it's very straightforward with how they're going to want to play the game. You literally hold forward kind of idea. And they have a lot of chip between Clash Blaster, between Inkjet, between just Tri-Slosh as a whole, and Tetras. Like the chip that we have and the short range that we have needs to kind of stay in line. Like we don't have like burst bombs necessarily, but you know, we do have suction bombs. We do have splat bombs on the Clash Blaster, and we have an Ink Mist, so we can keep them in place. We can shift them around. We can outmaneuver them. So I'm feeling pretty good about our comp. The only thing that I would say, especially on TC, is there is a chance that they could potentially KO us. All their specials are super relevant, even though their main weapons are kind of they can, like, if they're able to chain all of their specials together, like they probably can push like the entire tower with just like constantly throwing Booyah bombs. Like if each of them get 2 specials and they stagger their specials, this could get scary if we're not able to find an opening. So that's my only concern. Oh yeah, I also didn't look at the builds. Interesting, we're not running quick respawn on Tetras. I'm not sure what the sub abilities are, but probably I think it's, at least in Splatoon 3, it's pretty set in stone that like quick respawn makes a lot of sense. But because you're not running quick respawn, like you still don't want to lose your aggression, but you're not gonna have the ability to constantly like keep jumping in and keep feeding. The mains, it's swim speed, run speed, and stealth jump. And an interesting thing to note, although we're not running quick respawn, is that the Blob Blob has respawn Punisher. Yo, what's up, Hecka? Hello, hello. So navigating around the Booyah bombs. I like that they were able to, like, it's one thing I actually need to get better at. It's obvious when they run out of ink and they're trying to shoot, like the Blob's trying to shoot and nothing's coming out, so that's a pretty obvious indication that they don't have paint. But I know that like players better than me in a lot of scenarios, when people use, so like let's say like a splash or something, use like two burst bombs, it's like in most cases they're not going to have a lot of paint after that. Or like if someone is like spamming fizzy bombs, you can kind of, if you're tracking their ink, or if you just notice that they use a lot of ink very quickly, you can actually punish them and like, you know that they're, especially something like a machine, like a sloshing machine, when it doesn't have LDE, they only get a couple of shots after, depending on their build, but they only get a couple of shots after their fizzy bomb. So sometimes you can find these opportunities to punish them, but obviously this person's completely out of ink, so it's pretty obvious. But I like the patience on the Tetra to just keep moving around and stay mobile. Like we kind of outrange their whole team, so That is unfortunate. One thing I have noticed so far as the Tetra player is that they've been playing like on the tower path kind of consistently throughout this match. Basically mean like they've been playing like in the middle of the map. And like as a Tetra, I would not necessarily recommend you do that. I like playing out in kind of like these open spaces and like on the sides and stuff. It gives you a lot more room to be able to maneuver and roll around. And you can start like, it is a good tactic to sit top mid if you're able to get there without the enemy noticing. If you can like shark in mid, you know, you can look for opportunities to drop down on either side and roll onto someone. But I don't like that we're playing very honestly, like throughout mid, because there's just going to be a lot of action, and we should, as a Tetra, be able to isolate single people, like on the sides of the map. So we'll see if that continues throughout the rest of the game. But it's one thing I've noticed so far, that I don't think the positioning is necessarily optimal. Not that you should never go mid, but be careful in certain scenarios. Yo, what's up, Echo? Yeah, so there's two things happening here. We're still playing in mid. The other part is that we're rolling in a straight line. Like we may be looking over here, but we see that there's fire happening this way. And if we keep rolling to the right, from their perspective, we're just rolling in a straight line. You probably can see it from this perspective. Hopefully I chose the right arrow spray. But yeah, it's like when you roll into the other team, it's basically like you're effectively just like walking into them, and we don't want to walk into them. We want to be strafing side to side. So when you're rolling, again, ideally, and this is why you prefer playing on the sides, so that you can isolate targets and not just run into their entire team. But you don't want to necessarily roll into their direction. A lot of times when you're strafing in general, you want to be perpendicular to where the enemy is. So we'll keep moving after this, but just to kind of show it in action. So we were looking and painting this way, so the strafes make sense, but you know, this whole thing is enemy paint, and we did see some fire happening on this side. So if we were, obviously in this case, Reese was looking kind of in the wrong direction because this pick already happened. But if we were taking this kind of fight, we want to be perpendicular to the way that they're like the way that we strafe. And if we need to like space backwards a little bit or move forward, then we can do that accordingly. But when we're actually engaging and getting within range to take fights with enemies, it's basically the equivalent of like AD strafing in if you play like tactical shooters. And the reason why it's important to be perpendicular and move like left and right from the enemy perspective is because that's going to give you the most speed from the enemy's perspective, because all of your momentum is going in like the direction opposite of them. Because if you go this way, you know, like the whole geometry, some of that momentum is, and the velocity is going not, you effectively end up moving slower on the enemy target because of it. If y'all need the math, I can, but I think y'all get it. With angular velocities and whatnot. Oh. Team was winning fights, so it's good that you jump back. Again, we're still playing on the objective, and we want to turn the enemy. We've seen a couple of Tetra games over the last little bit, and anytime that, you know, again, isolate targets and make them look either opposite of the objective or just opposite of where the rest of your team's going. And for something like the Clash Blaster or Tri-Slosh, like it probably makes more sense for them to be a little bit closer to the objective, especially the Clash Blaster, because they can have a lot of impact on the tower. But as a Tetra, you want to be playing off of the objective and be playing really aggressive, which is why why quick respawns are a really good option. But we're not running that in this game. Replay moment. I wonder if that person's gonna respawn on the replay. I might have to reset the replay. Oh no, they're back. Okay, cool. Because yeah, we don't need to be sitting on the tower. Like in these kinds of scenarios. So back it up a few seconds and I'll kind of talk through how I would look to fight. I'm not a Tetra player, but yeah, at this point, I want to move farther away. Because in these scenarios, like once tower's here, there may potentially be someone flanking this way. There may be someone up on like the snipe area and they may potentially drop out to the right side. But for the most part, the main majority of the enemies are going to be sitting in this choke point. So we could like going in, we could throw an auto bomb to check this area and see if there's anybody there. But based off the information we have, especially since we just got a bunch of picks, I can feel pretty confident that I can just move all the way over here and start taking a fight around this pillow. Use this as cover and then start looking to move like left and right here to take fights with these people. And look to fight right there would be ideal. Because if they're looking this way, then like the rest of your team can funnel in from this side and potentially get an off angle and you can make it really awkward. So again, that's one of the things as a frontliner is that you want to take aggressive angles from, opposite the rest of your team. Can't you just roll back? Oh, with the Tetra rolls? Yeah, you can roll back with Tetras. I think they had a specific play in mind and they kind of just use all of their rules. But yeah, if they noticed that they were rolling into someone, they could use, the remaining of their 4 rolls to reposition. Certainly. But I think there was a lack of awareness that they were running into 2 people, which is why they ended up getting spotted. Getting used to your new phone? Nice. Hopefully the new phone is an upgrade, Yeah. And again, I think there's a consistent theme here that we're overly looking to play on the objective. Nice. Like once we start getting off the objective and we start rolling around, like we're a lot more comfortable. But we're just playing tower control suboptimally for how our weapon wants to play it. Oh, I think this is looking to be a faster match. Looks like we're snowballing. Because yeah, in these scenarios, we just start taking space. While tower's sitting in the spot, and especially since we have advantage, we want to start pressuring these people. So just like rolling at them up the ramp is good. And we don't have to like, again, like we were mentioning before, you can roll in different directions, depending on how you want to play it. But at the very least, we need to be positioned here and we need to be focusing and getting paint over on this area to back these people up. Or if they want to take a fight with you, you should be able to outrange them. And if they try to push forward, then the rest of your team is there to support. But we don't need to be on the tower. The rest of your team's weapons are probably also good off the tower, but a lot of times I'll mention Tetras as kind of one-dimensional. You have to be really good at that one dimension, but they do have a very linear gameplay, so it's important for us to, play that as best as we can. Because your teammates, especially your teammates with like, splat bombs and flexion bombs and shot has like some additional range. They probably like the V shot or the hero shot in this case probably would be a little bit more comfortable on tower with the extended range. But basically as a Tetra, you should like never do objective. It's always better, like it's better for you to start moving forward, and then, you know, even if your teammates are a few seconds behind, you know, getting on the tower or picking up the Rainmaker or, you know, scoring the power clam or whatever the case is, it's better to let them look for those plays, and you make their life easier by giving them space. I do like the aggressive Reef Sliders, but yeah, now we're moving back to tower when we push them back with Reef Slider and we could start rolling into their spawn. Like after the Reef Slider, we should have continued pushing into their base. It's like, this is great. And with enough awareness, you'd see that you split the two other people. Like one person got splatted and the other two went in two different directions. So this is a perfect opportunity for you to start moving forward and you can decide who you want to fight against. I think in closer ranges, it's probably better to play against the blob, just because very quick movement is going to make aiming for them really, really, really tough. So I would like for you to start moving this way. And then again, look for these types of rolls, roll into them if you need to, but start looking to take more aggressive fights. Because again, the tower's moving back, but if you're taking the fights and all three of these enemies see you taking these fights, they're all looking at you and there's no one stopping the rest of your team from picking up the objective. Yo, what's up, Loaf? Welcome in. Not dying constantly because of work. Let's go, let's go. We're just a little bit too focused on the wrong thing. Nice shots. I think we did hear someone behind us, so fortunately our teammates were able to do it. But like, I can see the confidence in your Tetras once you get off of the objective. But the problem is that we're getting back onto the objective at every opportunity. This does make for a cool drip pick, but you know. Yeah, because even now we're trying to get back on tower. Yeah, good KO. I think your off of the objective movement was good, but our priorities are definitely out of whack. But I do think your Tetra gameplay is good. So if we start focusing on the right things, I think we're able to climb pretty fast. So we can go through some of these talking points and get you ready to level up. Picked up a new game. Oh, you're revisiting Team Fortress 2? Nice. I haven't played that game in so long. Heckin' love TF2. What character do you play in Team Fortress? I always enjoyed Medic and Heavy. Sniper is really fun in that game, but I am not a sniper. You have Jim added? Yeah. Jim's cool. All right, anyways, we were going to talk through a couple of points, and I think these are going to be pretty clear cut in stone. Scout main. Oh. Scout is so much fun. Honestly, so all the classes in that game are so good. But yeah. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to play in front of the objective. A lot of times we kept wanting to get back on tower, and like we'd start rolling off of tower and taking fights, and we got a lot of success, but after we got a pick or something, we'd immediately get back on the tower, even if our other teammates were already on it. So tower moves forward kind of outside of what we're doing. Like if your whole team's kind of going down and everything, you can look to revisit the tower. But you're most effective when you're playing in front of the objective. You want to, if tower's on first checkpoint here, you want to be looking to take fights in this area so that the enemy team is positioned back here. And then no one's doing anything to the tower and the tower's safe to continue traveling. So this is what it means by taking space as a Tetra, is you want to move in front of the objective so that they have to focus on you instead of focusing on your team. So your team's able to get a lot of points, you know. And this is also why quick respawn is important. I think these concepts are more important than your build, because you can totally win and be successful without a proper build. But quick respawn will definitely enable that more aggressive playstyle, because you'll be able to do it more confidently and be able to get back into the action again and again. So you want to play in front of the objective is the biggest thing. Basically, you should like never be on tower. And again, same thing with Rainmaker. You should basically never pick up Rainmaker. Because of the checkpoint system in Rainmaker, if the enemy team wipes, you can pick up the first Rainmaker and take it to the first checkpoint. But even in that scenario, it would be way better for you not to pick it up, because you still want to be forward. Because again, if you're moving past the first checkpoint on Rainmaker as an example, if you're taking fights in front of that checkpoint, then that means that your team can score the checkpoint, get the pop very safely, and be able to continue moving forward and get more points. So there's almost, unless it's, you know, we never deal with absolutes or deal in absolutes when it comes to Splatoon. You know, it's a very complex game, and there will be times where you do need to be on tower. One of my teammates, X-Ray, is very good with Tetras, and sometimes if we need to cheese some points in dangerous areas, you can actually reef slider into the tower pole and still sit on the tower and squeeze out a couple of extra points without ever, you know, without risking that you'll get splatted by something. Once the reef slider explodes, then yeah, then you'll be in trouble. But we don't have to worry about those advanced tactics here. The main point is that we were sitting on tower and playing in this kind of perimeter on the tower basically the entire game, and we don't need to do that. It makes it harder. You being closer to the tower makes it harder for the tower, and it makes it harder for your teammates. You want to indirectly help the tower by taking space in front of it. So the other thing is play sides of map. You can move in front, but I think in general, like your game plan out of spawn was basically the tower path the entire game. And then maybe you'd roll off a little bit, but you're playing in this region basically the entire game. And as a Tetra, you want to be able to isolate. Your goal is to isolate the enemy so that you can take 1v1 fights. Because again, as we mentioned, we outmaneuver the blob and we outrange the arrow sprays. So we have advantageous matchups against both of these, you know, all the weapons on the enemy team. How we approach them is a little bit different, and you know, as you get better with Tetras, you'll understand, you know, more optimal ways to take fights with all the different weapon types. But yeah, you want to isolate the enemy and you want to use open space. And that's why using the sides of the map is good. Because if everyone's fighting for objective and it's sitting in mid, if you start moving around the edges of the map and get into this type of position where the enemies, you know, they're focused and their vision is forward. So if you can go through the outside on either sides of the map, we can look to take fights and catch them off guard, or at the very least make them uncomfortable, because they have to look at two different directions and that's impossible to do. So that's the biggest thing that I would say. The last thing I would say is that you really want to heavily invest in the QR build. I don't think builds are important, but with the playstyle of Tetras and Splatoon 3, quick respawn is super important. Because you know, when you're trying to take space in these spots, when your team's moving tower, you know, you're kind of, your teammates should be able to help. And in certain cases, they may be able to use bombs, or they may be able to use like inkjet, or if you're playing with like a splash, for example, they can throw burst bombs to support you from a little bit farther away. But because you have to push so much farther forward than the rest of your team, it's going to cause you to probably, you know, get splatted quite a bit. And that's the advantage of being able to run being able to run quick respawn. Actually, there's some other points that I made. I recently just, like right before the stream started, I created, or I uploaded like another review that I did, which was on this map with this weapon. And I went a little bit more in depth when it comes to taking space and everything. So, you know, as a Tetra, if you want to kind of get more of a perspective when it comes to moving and everything, then that may be able to assist and give you some more examples and some more context. That was a Clan Blitz game. This is a tower control game. But, you know, I wouldn't worry too much about the QR side of it, but we really want to focus on these first 2 points. And I mentioned it in the video, but when you go from playing the way that you're playing now, where you're like hugging the tower and you're constantly playing, you know, within arm's reach of the tower, it's going to be very uncomfortable for you to start playing in front of the objective and giving, you know, enough of a buffer around the tower so that it can move safely. And what that'll end up causing you to do is feed, which is good because that's kind of what you want to do as a Tetra. But, you know, you're going to feel like you're less successful. You're going to feel like, you know, again, super uncomfortable, but that's natural and that's part of the process. You're taking on a new play style with the Tetras, and it's going to take you some time to get adjusted to that and, you know, have enough experience and exposure in those positions to be able to start playing it better. So again, things will get worse before they get better. You're probably going to lose a little bit in order to start, you know, getting rid of some of these bad habits that we're going to address with these first 2 points. But yeah, again, I think your actual Tetra mechanic is pretty solid, but the way that you're playing it is not getting the most value out of the weapon, and it's going to prevent you from being able to climb at a certain point. But thank you for the replay. Very potentially scary game, but I think you were able to navigate fights that you intentionally took. You were able to actually navigate them really well. So thank you so much for that. And then next, we wanted to look, posting, Evo, I see that you posted your, we'll do yours next, and then we can go over a Bab Splash game. And then we'll probably, depending on how much time we have, we may be able to do another review. But currently we don't have another review after this. So, you know, if someone is interested in getting their replays reviewed, definitely feel free to join the Discord. There are a submission rules channel that basically, it gives you a template for the rules and some guidance. There aren't too many rules with it. Obviously it needs to be a game that we can learn from. So don't give me a game where you go 25-0 and, you know, stomp the other team and you just kind of want to show off your skills. Like, you know, you can do really well. You can post games where you win. All that's totally fine, but, you know, have there be enough interesting decisions for us to be able to really dissect. The other thing is that I'm not really good at like judging turf war type matches. So the ranked game modes would be ideal. But yeah, anyways. Once you get into the server, there is an ability to create a new post in the VOD submission area. And all you have to do is like post your replay code. There's some other information about what rank you are, what rank you're trying to get to, just to kind of track those things. And if you have any additional questions that you specifically want to go over with the reviews, and because we can't get to all the reviews all the time, that's why I like to kind of track them and manage them in this Discord server. So I appreciate you all for that. Anyways, let's get this replay added. I believe this is a Stamper game. I don't think we've seen a Stamper yet, so it should be interesting. I've watched enough Stampers with Nourisho and with Bab playing Stamper. Rainmaker, holy, yo, Juan. Hello, hello, gamer. Welcome in, Ball. Welcome in, is it Kelt? Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. If not, please correct me. Juju, hello, hello. Wonderful raid. Pineapples on pizza is quite wonderful. How are the games? We played a couple of games. It went pretty well. We're doing some reviews right now. Yo, Kel, thank you so much for the follow. Much, much appreciated. And we're about to dive into another review. We're looking at some Stamper gameplay. I think it was Flounder Rainmaker, if I'm not mistaken. So we will be pushing through it. And Juju Squid, thank you so much for the follow. Y'all are too kind. Hopefully your stream went well. Hopefully all of your games went well. I tried playing the rotation today. It actually wasn't, or the salmon run rotation. It actually wasn't too bad, but it's tough. I feel like playing on Marooner's Bay, I never want to play that. But this one felt not as bad as some of the other ones. Or maybe my teammates were better. I struggle quite a bit when it comes to salmon run. Low S games. Yo, wait, are you going to LTC? That's sick. So wait, do you have a team? Do you have a team name that I can track and follow? Hopefully you make it on stream. That'd be super hype. Haven't played salmon today? Gotcha. For the best. Nah, I like salmon run. Need to get better at it, but it's enjoyable. Okie dokie. So we are looking at this Stamper here on the blue team. And the first thing that I like to do is kind of go over comps. I don't love salmon run. I don't like to play for too long, but I enjoy that I enjoy it's always available, and I enjoy being able to go into it when I want to, you know. Facing a team that got second in lowing, sheesh. You should be able to play a bunch of games though. I think in groups you get to play a handful of teams. But yeah, definitely you know, hydrate, get some food, and good luck at LTC. Yo, Mako, hello. You're right on time for the raid. But things are going well. We're doing some VOD reviews. Yeah, I usually like to start VOD reviews kind of going over how I see the roles necessary, you know, what I think the role of the weapon will probably end up being, and how things will synergize with the rest of the team. So Rainmaker on this map is a little weird, but one of the advantages of playing Stamper on this map is that we get a lot of really good angles and we can play ledges pretty well. Not as well as something like Tri-Slosh. Tri-Slosh is very dangerous. Brush is a little bit scary as well when it comes to dealing with ledges, but Stamper does pretty well also. When we're looking at comps, because they have the Tri-Slosh and because they have the Brush, they're able to play around, like playing over ledges, and they can navigate the vertical terrain a little bit easier than we can because we're all shooters. But we do have strong specials with our weapons, and something like the wall from a 52, if it's well placed, is going to be very effective. And the crab is also going to be effective and very important for dealing with the ballpoint. I'm like, if we get, it's going to be hard for us to push against the ballpoint, and it's going to be hard for us to retake and play defense against this Tri-Slosh. So those are kind of the main concerns for this game. And the enemy team definitely get, I think I'm pretty confident they get pop over us when it comes to like the initial Rainmaker pop. So if all things are even and all teams are kind of at full strength, I don't think I'd necessarily recommend going for the pops. But we're also in a very interesting position with our special to be able to deal with the ballpoint potentially. But you have to be pretty crafty with how you use your Zipcaster. So we'll see how creative we get with our angles. But overall, I think I like our comp a little bit better. But we have to use our resources very effectively. If we have Booyah Bomb, if we have Crab, if we have Zipcaster, there's very, not specific, but we need to make sure that we make those count. But once we can hold and we're in a decent position, I think we're solid. But this game can definitely snowball and it gets very scary. I'm always nervous against the other team. But we do have enough resources to be able to be in a good spot. Looks like the enemy team didn't go for the pop, so, you know, if it's there, we take it. The initial drop here is a little bit scary. I don't think it's necessarily bad, but I'd rather us be more, I'd rather make this pick a little bit easier for us. So if we're going to drop on this person, is Celeste here? Yo, what's up, Jorge? I have not seen Celeste around. But maybe if you speak their name. So in these kind of scenario, and mechanically, you know, this is something you'll get more comfortable as you keep, you know, practicing and everything. In a lot of spots, you can totally hit this play, and I think this drop is totally fine. But if you want to make your life a little bit easier, you can lead with a burst bomb and paint their feet so they have less of a time moving afterwards. Yo, what's up, Trig? Tell her to hurry up. So yeah, if you wanted to use the burst bomb initially, that'd probably be fine. The one thing I do like is I use the burst bomb after, and then after you use this burst bomb, you're immediately like moving. You're jumping and you're moving. And I like the constant mobility. I think it keeps you alive in these types of scenarios. Yo, thank you, Jorge. Much appreciated. And your team's able to clean up most of the rest. This is the spot where ballpoint gets a little bit scary. And when we're playing against Splatlings on this map, specifically like heavies and ballpoints, when we're looking at aggressing against them, so we'll wait for this brush to go down. So when ballpoint's sitting in this kind of spot and our team's trying to push them, ideally we don't want to all push from top mid. If we all come across the top, the ballpoint can actually get a bunch of splats, and that's kind of what we see here. It could have been way worse, but this should be a lot cleaner from us. Because you're in this kind of spot and because you can play ledges better than most of your team, instead of climbing back up this wall and pushing this way, because we know there's just the ballpoint left, I'd much rather us take a wider approach just so that we have another angle in order for us to fight this ballpoint. So if you want to, you can go onto this left trench. We can climb up their main ramp wall and flank around this way. Alternatively, we can also just use this back street, climb up the wall this way. We're a little bit more hidden. And as long as we're fast enough, the enemy team isn't going to respond in time, and we should totally, like our timing window, as long as we act and start moving forward faster, we'll be in a good spot. But again, this is Rainmaker. And in these kinds of scenarios, we have to trust that one of our other teammates is going to pick up here. So we don't have to necessarily push the same way. We know where the last threat is generally. Most times Splatlings like to play, you know, up on the stage or up on this great area. And maybe this ballpoint, if they're scared, which they probably should be because they're fighting a 1v4, they might push back to this main ramp. So if we take this back street area, depending on, you know, where we see bullets or where we, you know, hear movement potentially, we can look to either go, you know, up the main ramp, or we can potentially flank and go around this way if we want to like cut off, if we're scared that they're pushing farther back. But I would much rather us take a more side approach in this type of scenario, just so this ballpoint doesn't have the opportunity to chain a bunch of splats together, which they almost do. They stop Rainmaker and they get 2. Fortunately, y'all are able to, oh, they get 3 actually. So yeah, y'all had a really good push opportunity. I think your teammates needed to play it a little bit slower as well, but you know, then getting into the habit of taking these side routes and going up this right side's fine as well, but you were already, you know, you dropped down on the left side after you got your splats and everything. So, you know, just keeping on the left side would probably make the most sense, but taking either of these walls is totally fine and an effective approach. We just don't want everyone going straight ahead against a lot of like backliners, because Explo, Chargers, and especially the Splatlings with, you know, Hydra heavy ballpoint, they're gonna really punish you for all going in the same direction and playing in open space, pushing in that open space in mid. I think we can probably contest mid a little bit more. We might give up too much space, but I understand that you're the last person alive, so I can understand your concern. The one thing that I would mention is that y'all just got the pick on the ballpoint. Oops. So yeah, the ballpoint's down at this point. Or maybe I move back just a little bit more. So because the ballpoint is down, any potential fights that we take are against things that we very favorably outrange. So because we know we win the range battle against these, even though on paper it's a 1v3, you'll take care, Jorge, take care. Have a good night, my friend. Don't get into too much trouble. But in this spot, you can play a lot more, what I consider like you can play bigger. And the fact that you can just like sit up here and get a vantage point of what the enemy team, like where they're trying to position and what they're trying to do. Because if you're sitting up here, you can check to see where they're coming from, which these are probably the most obvious routes. Sometimes they may drop over here, but there's no paint, so we don't have to worry about that. You're always into trouble. And we can use our range when we're, you know, up high and zone them out and keep them kind of stuck in this area. And the longer that we can hold these types of zones, the easier it is for the rest of our team to make it in. And because we immediately back out this way, oh, whoops, that's why, because the team switched. Oops, my bad. The ballpoint's down. That's what I was mentioning. But because of that, you're totally okay to play more aggressive, because when you sit back like this, the enemy team is able to just move forward and take mid for free. And if you're really scared and there's enough of a danger, then you do want to back out completely. But I don't think this is one of those scenarios. I think if we take a second and kind of, you know, look at this logically and not just think, oh, you know, 1v3, that's one way to approach it. But, you know, because they're kind of staggering in and everything, and because you have like a very blatant range advantage against them, I don't think you need to play as scared as you end up doing. Because we can see from their perspective, while you're getting this paint, they're able to get the pop, they're able to push up, and now your team, so your teammates, if you held this spot, at some point, if they keep pushing you and you feel uncomfortable, you can always move back at us, you know, once you start feeling uncomfortable. But I'd much rather you hold this space as long as you can. Because at this point, because you backed up all the way here, your whole team is fighting from this main ramp area. And this is very scary. because they have complete control of mid. And once their ballpoint likely can just jump into one of, is that the ballpoint? Yeah, it's the ballpoint there. So they're able to jump in, and you have to deal with ballpoint sitting on top mid, doing what you were potentially able to do before. Yo, what's up, Celeste? And thank you for the hydrate. Let me get that going. So with these last two reviews, I initially went over like the range advantage. Like as the Tetra in the last review, we outranged and had favorable matchups against the entire enemy team. And as a Stamper, we outrange a lot of weapons. We do really well against short range shooters. So like ballpoint is definitely a problem if we approach it directly. But the other short range weapons that are on their team, in open spaces, we do really well. And if we take, you know, if we sit top mid, we have these open spaces and these open fights on these ramps. But now the situation just gets very uncomfortable for us because we're having to all fight from the same direction. We got our dunk, let's go. Good job continually backing up there. I think the replay bugged out. Let's try that one again. Okay. This will actually happen. I think it's fine for you to pick up. I actually don't know who on your team would pick up in this scenario. You just use your special, so I'm a little bit more comfortable with you taking it, but I like the range advantage that you have with your weapon. So if I'm you, I would play more selfish and I wouldn't want to pick up Rainmaker. I'd probably have like probably the pro, because the walls are kind of nice. Crab is definitely really nice. And I think you do a better job of the mid-range fight than your pro. But I think it's fine for you to pick it up. But I feel more confident having you with your weapon out. But you're hitting really nice Rainmaker shots, so I can tell you're very comfortable with the Rainmaker. So that's the other thing, especially in a solo queue environment. If you're comfortable with the Rainmaker, I can understand picking it up a little bit more, because sometimes people... I remember back in Splatoon 2, it took me a really long time. And I'm still not great with Rainmaker, but I've made a lot of progress over time. But, you know, being able to navigate with the Rainmaker effectively is definitely a skill within itself. So if you rank yourself very highly with it and you're very comfortable, I think in this type of scenario, it's totally fine. Reborn, I'm disappointed this is not a Tears of the Kingdom stream. I'll definitely watch other people play it. I'll get around to it. I don't know if I'm going to buy it off release. I'll probably stick to the Splatoonies, but I'm super excited for the game. And I'm glad everyone else is very hype about it. That's unfortunate with the whale. It's good that you got first checkpoint. Ideally on this map, and it very much depends on a lot of scenarios, you don't necessarily know where the enemy team is outside of the brush because of where they use their whale. But if you can dunk it on the ramp versus dunking it down here, in a lot of cases, doing it on high ground is going to be a lot more advantageous and will lead to a more successful push on average. But there are scenarios where, you know, dropping it here and like, you know, if there's like 3 people on the enemy team up here, then, you know, just taking the checkpoint's totally fine, especially on this kind of map. But having advantage up here feels a lot more comfortable and a lot better. So I think in this type of spot, from what I was seeing on my end, I think I would feel comfortable taking the checkpoint to the right, but this is okay as well. We don't have the lead, but it's still very, very early and we got checkpoint, so we're chilling. Yeah, jump's totally reasonable. And again, they're 3 down here. I want you to take space. It's extra important to take space because we're playing against the ballpoint. I mean, like, ballpoint is a bad matchup for us. So we want to take the extra time that we have now with the enemy team splatted for us to be able to play around these walls a little bit better. It's like, dropping off this way and, finding alternative angles and not having to take a straight up fight with the ballpoint, because that can really slow down your push. Because yeah, I think this push could have been a lot more effective if you move forward and didn't necessarily worry about needing to pick up Rainmaker. I think whoever, like, regardless, the person that's respawning, when they jump in, they can pick up the Rainmaker and you're still going to get a push. And I think you're effective enough with your Stamper, you probably get a way bigger push than you end up doing picking up Rainmaker yourself. Just because you had the opportunity for a very successful push. Posted your code in Discord. Let's go. Let's go. I think we might have enough for tonight, but we'll see how the timing is. We might be able to do a 4th one, but we will see. I like the use of burst bombs in order to get some information. That dunk timing was a little bit unfortunate. You probably don't have to dunk them. I think with you holding this kind of position, like, I like you pushing this person off the side into their street. But when you see these people climb up, you should feel confident staying on this ledge and staying in the position you're at now and just shoot, either vertical flicks or horizontal. Either one's fine, but I think you can get this splat without having to drop. And that keeps you more safe. Because if, for whatever reason, this situation gets more dangerous, you have enough paint up top. It's like, when you're up top, you're able to move in, a bunch of different directions. You can drop out if you need to, but you can move away from the enemy team completely and just make sure you stay alive. Once you drop into this pit area, you're kind of in the midst of everything else. And there's going to be a bunch of, Rainmaker shots and different bombs and enemies that are going to be all in this area. So you can get the one shot, but I think being a little bit more disciplined and playing it a little bit slower and using your range effectively is probably a more effective play on average. But you do get your dunk, so I can respect the pizzazz. Should stop dunking more. I think it just depends on the matchup. If you're dunking on a ballpoint and you got to a ledge near them and they don't know that you're there, I think dunking weapons that have longer ranges is totally fine. But if you see, these short range weapons, try to keep your distance as much as possible. I think that'll help you a lot more. And just comparing your weapons range to the enemy's weapons range is a good way for you to kind of think about things. And in most cases, Stamper's range is ridiculous. It outranges a lot of stuff. But, your range is contextual based off of the range of, the enemies on the other team. And, for how you want to play, you have to also think about your teammates' ranges as well. Because if you have a bunch of frontliners versus a bunch of backliners on your team, it's going to change the way that you make your decisions. But it's really important to make sure that you are thinking about these ranges, and if you have a range advantage or if they have the advantage, and play to your strengths as a weapon. So dunking's totally fine, just, time and place. Because like right here, like you're keeping your space with these shots. This is awesome. Unfortunately, your teammates were able to clean up, which is good, but it's good for you to be able to get the Rainmaker pick, keeping your distance. Keep your distance and stay in your own paint. Jump is a little bit scary, but we outplay. We love to see it. Nice. Yeah, and this is also a little small scenario, but this is another example of you dropping down into enemy paint, which reduces your mobility and makes it a lot harder for you. Because you can totally, like in these types of spots, especially against a brush, like you're in a great position. You probably can't sit on this ledge because if the brush jumps at you, they can definitely splat you and probably will splat you before you're able to splat them. But you know, I much prefer your positioning up here, or you know, you can also move up here if you'd like. But I think you're totally fine where you're at now. And even if it takes you a little bit longer to get the splat, you have more options and your probability to stay alive is a lot higher in this scenario. You might have accidentally squid jumped. I mean, I can respect the jump in dunk, but yeah, it was a little bit scary. Yeah, and again, we don't necessarily know what weapon we're fighting as they come around. And, you know, if it was the ballpoint, then taking the short range fight isn't too bad. But against their comp, I don't like us sitting on the low ground here and like looking for this fight, because the enemy team will splat you faster. It's like in these close range fights, regardless of if it's the tri-slash coming through or if it's the zap coming through, they have the faster kill time than you. And you don't want to take these like close quarter fights because you can't outrange them when your back is against the wall. So I'd much rather you move up this way. You could move up this way, but the other thing with brush, which they are splatted, but the tri-slash specifically, is if they didn't round the corner, if instead they climbed up this wall, then they have height advantage over you and they can just slosh down on you, and it, you know, you're in an even more miserable scenario. So I think as you were moving backwards, I think the ballpoint was already splatted. So your choice of fight is favorable. Let's see. So you're able to hop out at this point. Yeah, ballpoint goes down as you're hopping away. So while you're hopping away, you can check the UI, and seeing that this ballpoint is down, it simplifies the fights that you take during this little segment until they respawn, because you outrange the rest of these enemy teams. So you want to keep as much distance from them as possible. Plus you don't have a lot of paint to move, so it's a little bit scary. And because the enemy's like already chasing you and throwing bombs at you, sharking in this little puddle isn't as sneaky as you may think it is. And so your whole team's down, so you're going to be fighting in mid alone for a little bit, so we'll see how this goes. Again, the constant movement here is really, really good. And I also like that I like that you didn't just immediately go top mid. Because tri-slash plays, and brush, to a certain degree, can play around these walls against you. If you're sitting at the top of the wall, they can play on top of the walls, and it can be very scary. So I like that you give yourself more options, and like sitting in this position gives you time if they climb up any of these walls, because you know they're not going to climb up the wall that you're on now. But from all the potential angles they could be coming from, you give yourself enough time to react to it, which is again important, because ballpoint is still respawning in at this point and all of that. But yeah, this continual movement here is wonderful. And I would say you should move forward here. Sometimes in Rainmaker, teammates can forget about their Rainmaker completely. So if you want to see this thing reset, I don't necessarily blame you, but I'd probably still be a little bit, I'd be on high ground, because I can understand your concern about someone picking it up, because once they jump over this little podium, they basically have lead at that point. So I can understand you being a little bit more concerned about the Rainmaker in this scenario because there's 70 seconds left and you don't have that great of a lead. So I think this is okay. Pickup's debatable depending on who you ask, but I think it's totally fine. I don't think it's like throwing or anything. The one thing I would say, I'll let it play. The one thing I will say if you do pick up Rainmaker in these positions is putting it in a spot that isn't throwing the game if you get splatted. And so like on this map, ideally you can push the Rainmaker as far forward as possible. But ideally you want to keep the Rainmaker. So if I was you, I would probably stall Rainmaker in like this area. Because if you get splatted here and your team still has control of top mid, it's really hard for the enemy. Like they have to take fights and position themselves in really awkward spots to be able to not only pop the Rainmaker, but to be able to actually push it after. So when you're first picking it up here, if you want to sit around this ledge, I think that's reasonable. But once you feel like you're in a pretty comfortable spot, you may want to look to drop down and like play this area and just keep the Rainmaker in like an awkward spot for the enemy to be able to, like it's easy for you to protect the Rainmaker in this spot or just like in this spot, but you know, in this area, it's easier for you to protect it. But yeah. Yeah, what's up, kid? Hello. If you're looking to submit a review, there is a submission channel. There's a little template that I'd prefer people use if you are able to find it in the rules. But yeah, definitely feel free to submit a replay. If you have any questions, let me know. Because yeah, getting splatted here, if this fight, like if the fight after the splat goes wrong and the enemy team comes out with an advantage, they can pick up the Rainmaker and they don't have to push it very far for a lead. Versus if you got splatted down here, they have to pop it, they have to climb up this wall, they have to go across this way, and then they're in that same spot, which gives your team more time to react. So it's kind of a safeguard to position farther away from in like these more awkward spots. It's like a thing, especially if you played Splatoon 2, but you can also do it in Splatoon 3. But like on Manta Maria, for example, like those two platforms on the very far sides of the map, if your team has a lead, you can just sit on that platform and, you know, sit in a corner and just shoot Rainmaker shots and just kind of stall out the game. Because it's so hard to like move the Rainmaker from those spots. Yo, Nox, hello. Oh, welcome in, my friend. Hope you're doing well. If you're getting Zelda soon, hopefully you are able to enjoy yourself. Again, I like the continual movement and kind of spacing yourself away from the rest of your team. It's very good. Yeah. Painting a path for your teammate is good. It's kind of tough in this spot because you don't necessarily have full information of where the enemy team is. But because they respawned like a second or two ago, they're able to get out of their base at this point. I like you shooting a shot here to keep painting for your Rainmaker, but I would not position myself like in this spot. I actually really like you being here because you can watch this ledge and you can get pain like all around. Because there's not a lot of time left, so this kind of goes into the macro Rainmaker, which is very complicated in certain spots. But in this type of scenario, y'all are probably going to get past 50, realistically, because you painted a path for them. They probably get to like 40, 30 or so. But like leaving Rainmaker here, and then after they get splatted, you can like back up onto high ground toward mid. And like go back toward mid. And then your team just holds high ground for the next 40 seconds. And it's really hard for the enemy team to be able to push. But you going into these aggressive plays leaves you susceptible to the people coming in. You know, someone might shark from here. Someone might go up here. Someone may drop, which they end up doing here. They might even drop from, you know, this little rail area, which I don't think there's a rail in this mode, but, you know, up in the snipe area, they may drop from you there. And you just want to give yourself it's more important for you to stay alive here than, you know, squeeze out an extra 5 points because you're able to like tank some shots for the Rainmaker. So I hope that you back out here. It's good that you got the pick. That's so unfortunate. As tough. As actually tough. But you do get the pop at least. And your teammates are able to get a massive push. Good jump. And our goal here doesn't need to be we need to stop the Rainmaker immediately. We just want to be in control. And we want to put ourselves in situations where we have advantages. So again, going back to not being out in the open and taking fights against the ballpoint, and not being super close to walls and not knowing where, you know, the brush is potentially. Zap isn't really much of a problem, and luckily Tri-Strike or Tri-Slosh has a Rainmaker. But you don't necessarily need to play this aggressive here. You're able to take the space, so it's fine. Like once you're in the spot, it's good. But this is very risky, and if like because you're pushing so much farther than the rest of your team, if you get splatted by yourself, it just leaves there to be a more like some sort of opportunity for the enemy to actually win this game. And when you have a lead like one, you just want to play like super chill. But because of the lead you have, if you die in this spot, it's not the worst thing in the world. You can still defend your base. So, you know, if you are going to take this kind of risk, at least it's when the Rainmaker is, you know, here versus you running into the enemy team when the Rainmaker's here. Because you have more time to respawn and reset up. So I'm not super critical of this play, but again, time and place, and in certain, if a Rainmaker was a little bit farther forward, I like this play a lot less. But with it being on their side of the map, I think it's okay, given the push that you've had. And again, good movement, good spots. Teammates stop the pop. Yeah, overall. A very solid game. We got the dub. We love to see it. Nice. Okay. So, a couple things. So the first thing here is the blank screen. So number one is the best way I'm going to say it is like context. And this is why I go over the roles before every match, before we do the review, because that same type of thought process, granted you don't have a ton of time, but you should be thinking about what your role is and, you know, comparing your weapon in context to the other weapons in the match before every match that you play. It'll make your life so much easier and it'll simplify a lot of decisions. And as we went through the review, we were able to simplify to a certain degree. So in terms of context, we're looking at range advantages, say like vertical advantages, I guess. Vertical / wall. We're running out of space. / walls. Also TTK, which is time to kill or time to splat in this game, with how fast your weapon's able to do it. Splatana is a little bit unique because you do have like if you already have the charge ready, there's spots where you can get like immediate splats, you know, with like dunks and, you know, climbing up walls and everything. So the TTK for Splatana is like it's variable, but we can really clue in on this range and the wall part of it. And the way that I simplify is, you know, who do we have more range against and who do we have less range? And like we get outranged by the ballpoint, so they have more range than us. But the zap, the brush, the slosh, they all have less range than you. So if you know that you don't have to worry about the ballpoint, or if you can put yourself in fights where you don't have to worry about the ballpoint, then, you know, you always want to keep your distance, and you always want to just, you know, keep as much space between you and the enemy as you can. And as you get more comfortable and against all the different types of weapons, you can try to optimize your spacing when you're taking fights, so that you're trying to take fights at like your max range. But there's a little bit of give depending on the range of the other weapons. But that's one thing to keep in mind. And then the other thing with like the verticals and the walls. So like for the verticals and walls part of it, I would say, like, you know, Zap has a harder time, Ballpoint definitely has a harder time, but I think brushes and Tri-Slosh do better on walls than you. You know, if you have, again, this is all contextual, because if you have, you know, if you know where they're at and they don't know you're there, then definitely play off of the walls. And I think you did a really good job of finding opportunities for you to you know, drop down on someone and throw burst bombs or go for the dunk, and you were very effective and able to stop a lot of pushes with it. But just keep that in context. Like this fight that you took over here when you were like jumping into little puddles and you sharked in this area, and then their Tri-Slosh came swinging around this way. Like this is contextually, when it comes to the range and the vertical with the wall, this is an example of you're not in an optimal range against the Tri-Slosh, or basically any weapon that was still alive on the enemy team. And then if they took this alternative approach, which a lot of sloshes will, where they climb this wall instead and you're still sitting here, then they win this vertical part of it as well, and then you're double in trouble. So we want to keep ourselves in good spots whenever possible. And that's a nice way for me to start simplifying and make decisions, so that, you know, when I'm in a fight and I see what's visually in front of me, or I look at the UI and I see which enemies are splatted, then I can play the fights and I can position in a way that's a little bit more favorable for me. But, you know, nailing the context is tough, but it's something that you should be practicing every single time, and you'll get better and better at it, and you'll be faster at it. The other thing outside of the context, although it is kind of related, but I guess just like staying around team paint. And there was a lot of situations, like you were talking about it before, that you maybe were trying to dunk on them a little bit, which is definitely fun. But there's spots where you were trying to dunk when you didn't necessarily need to. There was that spot here where you were up on their main ramp, and there was a brush over here, and you ended up like dropping down because like Rainmaker was in that area, and that's what led you to go over here. But there's a lot of different scenarios where you ended up dropping, or like you were, I think, up here, maybe up there, but you ended up dropping down into the trench and put yourself in a tough spot because you don't have a lot of paint. Stamper is a weapon that it can paint really well. Like when you're able to paint these long trails for your Rainmaker, or if you have an opportunity to kind of just chill and just like paint a bunch around, like you can get a lot of good paint output. But when you're stuck in weird scenarios where, you know, you drop into maybe a little bit of your own paint, but the rest of it is enemy paint around you, and you're kind of stuck in this little small area, it's going to be very disadvantageous for you. And you found yourself in those spots when you were dropping, and you didn't have a lot of paint either. There are certain times where you were able to burst bomb yourself out, and that, you know, quick amount of paint is able to reposition you. And when you had the paint, I think you did it well. But you put yourself in vulnerable spots where you didn't necessarily need to. That's kind of the biggest thing. The other thing that you'll definitely want to keep in mind, but this map mode's a little bit weird, and I think for the most part you did okay. But take space and look for what I would consider creative angles. Creative angle. So what I mean by that is when at the very beginning of the game, when you got splats and you ended up in this spot, and the ballpoint, you technically don't know where they're at, but you can say based off of sounds and paint and just general map knowledge and awareness, that ballpoint's somewhere in this area. And when the rest of your team is up here, this is where like I'd rather you take those more creative angles. You know, off angle, another way of you know, thinking about it. But you know, push at least this way when the rest of your team's going this way, so at least there's two different directions. But because you're already like down here, I actually really like you being able to like flank behind. You know, you can make your decision if you want to go that way, or you can go that way, or you can take this wall. The timing window is a little bit tough for you to go this far away because the enemy team's going to spawn in and start spotting you. But, you know, you give yourself a lot more opportunities to make it really hard for the ballpoint to clean everyone up versus 4 of you all bunching up and the ballpoint ended up taking out 3 of you. So that's kind of the main thing. I think you played it very well, but you know, take space a little bit faster. That's something that is just realistically, it can be said for basically anyone, you know, like your pace of play will just naturally. It's like if this is pace and then this is like your overall skill as a player, it's like over time, as your skills improve and as you get better at the game, your pace is naturally going to increase. But if you're aware of situations, especially when you wipe the enemy team, where you can pick up your pace, or if you have like a significant numbers advantage, if you can pick up the pace and take spots that you're going to eventually want to contest before the enemy team can get there, you give your team a significant advantage. So like, let's, you know, if Rainmaker's sitting in mid and your team's going for first check and you got 3 down or you wipe them, instead of helping with the pop and, you know, kind of being slow, if your if your teammates are already around the Rainmaker to pop it, just like sit up here, you know, like navigate your way to like hold this spot. Because if you're going to get if you want to get this checkpoint, you need to take control of this ramp. And if you can race the enemy team, so if you're able to get there and hold the top of that ramp before the enemy team coming out of spawn is able to get there, then you should definitely take the opportunity to do so, because you'll already be up here and you'll already be firing your long range shots on the people on this ramp. And if you keep the enemy back here, your Rainmaker can just, you know, bunk the Rainmaker for checkpoint for free. Those timing windows are, you know, it's another way to think about the game. Splatoon is definitely a game of time. And as you get better, you can be a little bit more, like you'll be thinking about the game in terms of those timing windows at all times, when people are spawning in, when people are jumping in. You know, if someone's flanking you, there's a little bit of a timing window to ignore them. And you have a temporary advantage, but if you don't do something in that time, then, you know, once they finally flank around, and if your team is pinched between the enemy from 2 sides, then you're in a tough spot. But timing windows, as you get better, is a good way of thinking about the game. But I think what we kind of identified here and start thinking about taking space will help you a ton. But this whole take space and take angles and the timing windows is something that I'm very cognizant of in my own play, trying to be competitive, and is something that I'm actively looking for in my own games. So it'll stay with you for a while. But overall, very solid. I would have liked to see you play a little bit more in those long ranges. It looked like your mechanics are totally like on par or above, you know, the other opponents that you were playing against in this kind of match. But, you know, I don't think I had enough of a sample size to really get a feel for it, but you seem very comfortable in the weapon. So, you know, I think if you keep keep yourself in advantageous spots and hold high ground, hold those long ranges when you outrange the enemy, I think you'll be able to, you know, really start streaking and get a lot of wins. We'll give you a second to look at your stats. Dropping a 20 bomb, let's go. Excellent, excellent. Zipcaster is another thing you'll be thinking about as you improve, but I wouldn't worry about it too much. It was funny when you used Zipcaster and the Rainmaker shield ended up splatting you. That was a bizarre situation. So, yeah. So again, thank you for the quote. Much appreciated. I'm in a little bit of a backlog in terms of getting videos out. I'm getting faster at making the condensed YouTube videos. I'm hoping to be able to get ahead of them soon so that we're able to kind of catch up with the amount of reviews that we're doing throughout the day. But some of the thumbnails and all the other fancy part of making the videos outside of just cutting them, I'm still working on, but yeah. And then I think the last thing that we were gonna look at, and I already have the review. Actually, if Echo's here, we'll go through Echoes. Did you have the review codes in the? So I do want to go over a Bab, the splash game. We might be able to quickly go over it after this, depending on the timing, but it's gonna be close. But Echo is here, so I'd rather look at that now. Because I can always pull you, Bab. Ooh, Squeezer. Nice. I actually think Squeezer's in a pretty good spot right now. So we'll take a look. Clam Blitz in on Scorch, which is a map mode I'm very familiar with, so should be able to help you quite a bit. In open, made it to S+15, currently S+1. So we'll see how it goes. We suck this round, and that means that there's gonna be some juicy stuff for us to discover. Just the most important part of this learning process. So real quick, look at the build. I don't really know Squeezer builds too much. I think, you know, you had LDE, swim speed, and tenacity, or not tenacity, ink resistance in the league. Like the ink resistance in this game kind of translates to tenacity in that game. So sometimes I switch up the wording, but ink resistance, I think it's totally reasonable. I don't know enough about optimal builds that, you know, that seems totally fine. I think the only thing I would say is that LDE, and I could be wrong, this could be something that people do. So, you know, check Syndu.ink builds, check what other people are doing that are better than me. I don't play enough Squeezer, but LDE back in Splatoon 2 when it had a splat bomb, to me makes more sense versus running LDE in Splatoon 3, where you're currently the only kit that it has runs Splash Wall. And I don't love LDE on Splash Wall weapons, but again, I don't think it's bad. I don't know if it's necessarily optimal, but if it's something you're comfortable with, definitely do it. Definitely do it. Oh yeah, and we wanted to go through roles. So when we're looking at roles on this map, I think we went through a Clam Blitz game before. Yeah, it was Hakami was playing Clam Blitz on this map as a Squiffer, and it's actually going to be kind of similar. So the biggest thing when we're pushing on this map is that there's like two ways in. You take the main ramp, which is kind of the main approach, and then this grate is, for lack of a better term, I just consider it a flank. It's not necessarily a flank, but it's another approach that's on average not used as much. You know, you're not going to push your whole team through the flank route. You're going to be generally pushing through main. I agree with LDE not being super useful. Yeah, like it's fine. LDE, I don't think is ever bad. I just don't know if I necessarily. I wouldn't. I would say revisit it on splash wall weapons, but again, if it works for you, it'll definitely still be very helpful. But yeah. So as a splash wall weapon, as we talked about, and as a mid-range weapon that we'll go back into context, but we basically outrange their entire team. This flank route is very, very, very enticing for us. And it makes the life of the people pushing main a lot easier. So one thing I'd like for you to do is Squeezer. And again, we look at their comp. But the more we talk about it, this flank route is going to be super, super juicy. And it's your way to bully the other team. And we'll talk through why. So in terms of range, I actually don't know blaster range, and I don't know, or like range blaster and Nova. Contextually, I don't know how close that is to Squeezer. I think Squeezer is actually, I think it just outranges both of them, if I had to guess, but I'm not totally sure. But you definitely are comfortable taking fights with these weapons at longer ranges. You don't think you went there the entire game? Yeah, and that's it's good for us to kind of go through it ahead of time. But especially against these weapons, like you may struggle a little bit to fight these in short ranges, but in long ranges you're chilling. So you can make a lot of use out of your wall this game because you can confidently take fights against these in long ranges. Blaster is a little bit scary when you're, if they're underneath ledges and they can punish you for sitting on a ledge, but as long as you keep that in mind, you can definitely look to punish. But kind of going back to this dynamic of the main and the flank. As a squeezer, I'm probably looking to sit on these walls and take top mid whenever it's potentially available. And that's not always going to be available, but when there's a good spot, either the enemy's not positioned for it or we have a numbers advantage, I want to be top mid as a squeezer. And what you'll end up doing is you take mid and you start pushing this grate and you just plop your splash wall like right here. And if you have your wall toward the end of the grate, because of the range advantages that we talked about, no one in this spot can fight you. And like people on top of snipe can't fight you. And this is where you can bully the enemy team super, super hard. Again, great, you're still a little bit vulnerable, so you have to be careful that like there isn't a range blaster somewhere that can, or anyone on their team cannot get underneath you and shoot you. But that's where, when you have advantages, that's where you want to push it. When you know that the enemy team is like coming out of spawn, or if you know that they're defending this ramp, this flank opportunity is super, super, super good. So I really like your comp. I really like your weapon in this entire game. I think you can be very, very, very effective. Many can also do it pretty well. Dapples can kind of do it because they can roll quickly. Like they don't want to fight on this grate, but they can jump through the grate pretty fast. But I think in your team overall, it's probably you or the Mini that, especially since Mini has bubble, both of you can take this flank route very effectively, but I think you do it the best on average. So if I'm you in this game, I'm always looking for this path. But yeah, you mentioned that you struggled against the range blaster. Blasters are something that are really hard to deal with. And we'll kind of see how those fights or those engagements end up going south for you, but it's definitely something we can work on. Blasters are tough. And in certain spots as the squeezer, you may actually want to get into close range fights with the blaster. But we'll see how these opportunities kind of present themselves. Yeah, your teammate feeds a little bit hard here. Like the movement. Okay. And I would have got the wall out faster before you start even engaging in this fight. So if we go back a few seconds. Once you see your teammate go down, so once you see them down and you see the enemy here, I'm just throwing, like if we're going to take a fight in this lane, it's really long range, just get the wall down immediately. Like back up a little bit when you throw it so it has time to actually like, be active. But once this wall's down, like you're chilling in all these fights. You have to be careful about them coming top mid, but you're chilling, like where the blaster is now. So you don't get it out, which is fine. You end up getting it out like later. But at this point, if you end up taking this fight, it's not, the wall's not active in time to where you could potentially get splatted while it's still setting up. So there's just a little bit of risk there, but your movement's really good. Take a couple shots, keep moving. Take a couple shots, keep moving. I probably wouldn't, especially when you're fighting against a blaster, I don't know if I'd bunch up with the rest of your team. When you initially get the wall down, that might be an opportunity for you to start climbing this wall and start looking to go top mid. But you get the splat, you leverage the wall. Overall, this is a very good play. Yeah, unfortunate that the zap was able to push through. The zap wasn't there. You had a good fight against the one person that you were able to see, but with them having the super chumps out, I would be a little bit more so like after your teammates go down, I don't know, it's tough. Like the numbers, you had like technically a 3v2, even though one of your teammates was coming out of spawn. But in this type of spot where they have super chumps just holding this entire area, I would more likely position myself like up here and get a wall, you know, where the pillow is, and just kind of chill, because you don't necessarily want to take close range fights against, you know, there's at least one short range shooter in this spot. There was two, but at least one of them is going to be there. So if one of them pushes you, you're going to be in a tough spot. Because like your team is kind of on the back foot because they have the special down. So if you can just slow the game down with a wall and like taking as much space as you can, then you know, fighting on your side of the map, your team will have an opportunity to you know, swim in and be able to support this play. I think your Dapples twice now has kind of done their own thing, but hopefully we can come together. Yeah, I'd be a little bit careful about the way that you approach this. I think being up here is fine as a squeezer, but one thing I would say, and like as we start coming out and as we start looking at the paint, this paint here is very likely potentially a bomb, but very likely you know, like explosion shots, like paint residue from other stuff. And there's a good chance that there isn't an enemy sharking over here. So again, as a squeezer, you are able to come out this right side. So instead of moving left like your teammates are, you can actually play this far right side, climb this wall, or you can play this lane. But if you can hold up here, then it's easier for you to take fights against people underneath the basket. Because you can also, this is where you can throw down your splash wall in this spot and be able to take fights for people that are trying to score. Because in these long sustained pushes, having someone up on the snipe ledge or having someone on this right side, if you can bully the enemy team that's coming out of spawn up here, then you're going to have a really successful push. And luckily they weren't able to do it. They had a ton of clams, so they still get a really big push from it all. But in terms of your overall positioning as a squeezer, again, and again, this goes back to that flank idea. It's because like on offense, if you take this flank route and you're holding this side on the enemy team, then, you know, you can get a wall out here, or you can, you know, push a little bit farther depending on where the enemy is. And you can make it really difficult for them to like retake this area. So their entire team is funneled up here, which makes, you know, it makes it easier for your machine to get under ledges. It makes it easier for, you know, your teammates to be able to predict where the enemy is. So, you know, it's kind of the opposite logic in when you're holding for defense. So again, I think this is totally fine, the pathing you're taking here, but as a squeezer, you're in a unique position to where you can hold this position down through your team really well, which is going to be very important in a lot of situations. The mini does a pretty good job of it as well, but you know, if no one else on the team, because you see that like the mini and your machine are already on left, Ideally you don't want to bunch up like near a ledge. So like you taking the space on this side of the map makes it easier for yourself and it makes it easier for the rest of your team. Because when your team's taking, like, when these people are trying to fight your team under the basket or on this ledge, they can't look at you over on this right side. So again, this comes with like map knowledge, but this little platform over here is super important on offense and defense. And if you are in a position with your weapon or just in the situation to control this area, like you definitely want to do it. Because I play a lot of Splash. Splash is situationally really good up here. Like if you're able to get this spot for free, then you can be pretty effective at a range with your burst bombs. And if you have crab, you know, you can crab on top of the snipe and you can also crab on this area and really punish people on defense. So you know, this spot is very important, and that's why this flank route that we talked about at the beginning is also important, because it allows you to get into those types of positions. And yeah, positioning yourself like on the grate is going to leave you susceptible to this type of play, but you got to pick. I think the enemy team's play slowing down a little bit. I think you probably could have stayed alive a little bit longer with a wall and more disciplined positioning, but overall it's okay. I like the idea, but I would definitely think about positioning. From the way that I've seen you play this game so far, which we're only a minute in, but based on how you've been playing and how you talked about it, I don't think you're thinking about mid, and I don't think you're thinking about this little platform area at all. And as a squeezer, that's where you excel as a weapon. Any mid-range weapon does really well. Nautilus is super scary in those spots. What else is there now? Ballpoint obviously is super strong. But there's a lot of weapons, especially when you're playing against a lot of shooters, where you can super bully and have massive pushes by taking that space. Yeah, I think your positioning here is fine. Trying to find ways to help your team. Nice shot. Sheesh. We love ourselves a winning lottery ticket. This is the spot. Okay. I love this. No, this was so good. This is like the exact moment. Like you timed it perfectly and everything. You took control of mid, and like part of the reason why this is so effective is because you know they're all coming out of spawn at this point, and you initially got on the stage, or you initially got on the grate. If you hold this spot, you can literally hold it down for, you know, indefinitely. They have to use specials in order to get you out of that spot. You super bully them. So yeah, I can understand you want to help your team, but taking the off angle through grade is that's a game winning push versus you helping and getting the clam in. But again, you're taking these fights with your team, so the awareness there is good. All right. Yeah, in this spot, this is where your teammates are running in. This is where I would hold, you know, hold here, or you can still hold where you scored the clams on snipe. But take those positions, because you know that the enemy team is trying to drop on your team, or they're swimming in this way and they're running this way. So, you know, you sit here, you get a wall down, you can stop this area and you can stop this area for free. And you can at least get shots and threaten and paint the feet of people up here and make it easier for your teammates to do stuff. But I can understand that you want to like get lead and you're not sure of where your teammates are jumping in and how many clams they're going to have. I can understand the way that you're playing it, but I think if you take a little bit of a deep breath, you're in a way better spot than you may think. Which you do end up walling this person and you're playing around your wall really well. Unfortunately, you're in the middle of everything. Because if you take those fights from here versus taking those fights from here, when you're here, they have like a million angles to shoot you from potentially. And your spot's really awkward. Whereas if you're here and you put a wall down, even if they throw a bunch of bombs and you have a blaster shooting you and they're like really focusing you, you have the option to drop. Or as a squeezer, again, you're in a unique position. They break your one wall and then you can jump back to the grates, and you can sit on grate again and just chill in the spot. Again, if they send their whole team at you, then you probably just swim away. But you have more opportunities to like, once you're in a safe spot, you can throw a wall down and you can at least stall the enemy team. And I think if you're able to stall there a little bit longer, your team has more room to work with and they can play a little bit better. But I like the idea. And once you were in the tough spot, you like move between your wall like really, really well. But it's just a bad spot. It's hard to hold in that type of scenario. Good wall, good squeezer play. Yeah, I like that you almost overstayed a little bit taking the shots that you did here. Like, I'm glad that you ended up backing out, but I would probably back out. I would have backed out a few extra shots before you ended up doing it. Here's where it's very scary for you to hold this spot. And this is where Blaster is very dangerous. Because Blaster knows, in these types of spots, Blaster knows you either want to sit on this little ledge, you want to sit on top of Snipe, or, this right area. Blaster eats in all of these spots. The way that Blaster's in, this is super dangerous. So you need to get more information before you commit to any of those locations. So we'll see how you play it. But yeah, sitting up here is dangerous. Fortunately, some mechanical issues on their end. Suction bomb's a little tough. But I like that you didn't fully commit up there, but did no Blaster was there at the time? I mean, you were fighting them before that, Like when you first swam in and you threw your wall down. Oops. Like you threw the wall down and then like you were shooting at the Blaster and then you backed up. Like, great. Oh wait, maybe there wasn't. Yeah, right there, right there. So you see the Blaster there. And so at this point, yeah. And this is just like general awareness. Like Blaster is fine just holding this spot. Like there's nothing on your team that pressures the Blaster, unless like the only way that you have a good fight against the Blaster is either you have your wall up or like, you have to like drop this way and like take a fight from over here. And you have this long lane where you can comfortably fight the Blaster. But having the drop from any of these ledges that we mentioned before, a good Blaster should know they have a massive advantage on you there. So when you see them like anywhere in your base, like you have to think on the other, like from the enemy perspective, what are they trying to do? The rest of their team spawning in and they're gonna push this main ramp. If they're smart, they might have a Blaster. They may have the Nova potentially look to take this kind of flank angle potentially, but they can also probably brute force a little bit this way with all the bombs that they have. So again, as you get better and as you get more comfortable with everything, trying to think about how an enemy would want to play and how they get the most value. And if you were in the enemy spot, how would you play this scenario? And being able to do that in the middle of a match is will help you out a ton. But again, your movement is good once you identify there's a threat, but you should have identified there was a threat faster. And again, that's just tough. You hit your lottery shot, they hit their lottery shot. Consider it even. And again, 2 enemies are down, so it's more okay for you to take this left side. But again, right side's totally a valid option here. The other nice thing about taking this right side, and as a splash, I do this all the time, but you can do it especially as a squeezer. Like if you hold this ledge, like if you swim out right and you hold a ledge here, if the enemy team's super focused on this main area, you can drop and flank them, and you can completely stop a push with this flank. Like if they know that you're dropping on them and they're aware, then it's potentially dangerous because you can be out of play. But you can make it really awkward dropping and just pushing from behind because it's so fast. This little movement here is super, super fast. So if they're not looking for it, you can take advantage of that play. It's a really nice play that it can stuff really big pushes if they overcommit resources. Up here, specifically focusing at the basket or focusing at your teammates that are trying to defend. It's a really, really nice off angle. And again, in these spots, your team is taking back control. I'm going top mid. I'm taking that flank and I'm bullying. Oof. Nice shots. Yeah, there's been a couple of scenarios where you throw your wall down and you're not giving the proper time for it to be active. I don't think we necessarily knew that there was someone up on our, like, that platform area. Actually, no, you see them walk. I lied. You can see them walk through. So we did know that they were there. Oh, and we see that blast. So yeah, we're definitely know. But I would throw this wall and then I'm backing up until it's active again. You can back up and still keep your camera to see what's going on here. But you need to wait for that wall to come back because you're always like susceptible to the wall didn't show up in that part of the replay. But yeah. You have to be a little bit careful. And if you are going to take that fight, you should probably aggress and focus on shooting in between of the blaster shots. So like look to move left and right, you know, move perpendicular to them, make it tough. And then once they miss their first shot, then you can punish. But just, you know, running at them and running straight forward at them is going to potentially put you in a scary spot. But I think you thought the wall would have protected you, but there's like a small window where the wall did not protect you. Again, you might not be able to take mid here, but I would put, you know, this angle that you're holding here is really good because it's this nice lane. But use this to give you information and see if there's a chance where, you know, either you get a pick in this left lane or you can look to take top mid. Yo, what's up, Jamie? Hello. What are you doing up at this hour? You're on super late time. Hopefully you're able to start your weekend early. Oh, maybe you're playing Zelda. I feel like everyone's probably just playing Zelda and not sleeping. Which, respect. Much respect. I hope you're doing well, Jamie. I hope life is treating you well. Yeah, there's no need to get baited by the ball. And again, this goes back to like thinking about what the enemy's thinking about in certain spots. It's like, even if you weren't about to make a clam, don't worry about that. You have enough time and you don't need that big of a push, you know? Like you have to think about the context of like how many points you actually need. And you just need like a small to medium sized push. Because you score and then you're at basically 52. So you need like 7 more clams. So like it is a little bit of a push that you need after, but you don't need 2 balls in order to do it. Or if you do need a second ball, like you figure it out. You have plenty of time. But trying to save a ball while, even if you didn't make a clam, like if you didn't make the ball here, then I still don't like the play. But especially since you're marked and they see you moving this way, don't throw yourself in that kind of spot. That's just like that's the 100 level bait where they're always trying to trap you there. Excited to get in the collector's edition of the new Zelda. Let's go. Haven't opened it yet? Sheesh. Yeah, I'm with Celeste. You better open that thing. Oh my goodness. I don't even know what's in there. That's awesome. Well, I'm sure you're going to have yourself a fun, quite a while. I think I played the first Zelda, like Breath of the Wild, nonstop for like an entire month. It was like a full month that I didn't do anything else. Not expecting on getting all this. Yeah, let's go. We love to see it. So yeah, this is unfortunate. Again, you pushed off the blaster, which is good, but did I miss splash? No. We'll go through your splash game after. But yeah, one thing that's interesting to note in this spot, which the enemy team looks like they might potentially score here, but you have a minute left and your pity clam is like gone, like the pity clam down here. I think when your teammate fed or whatever, like they they lost it. So the enemy team looks like they're probably going to score and give you a free clam. But, you know, if you do win a fight, just be mindful that you're probably going to need to figure out how to get 8 clams together. But you at this point, you still have plenty of time. Still plenty of time. So I'm not worrying about making the ball at this point. I'm worrying about stopping the enemy team. But as we have less and less time, we need to think about it more and more. Yes. Yeah, and this is where we're aggressive and taking more space. Yep, we know where the last 2 people are, so we don't have to worry about the flank. Yeah, now I'm immediately taking space top mid, because the rest of the team's either spawning or they're jumping to, you know, their main ramp to the enemy team. I like staying alive. Yeah, in these types of scenarios, I want you to be a little bit more creative, because we need to put ourselves in a spot to bully the enemy team. Like we talked about at the beginning of the game, like your weapon, the mini to a degree, but definitely the squeezer with a wall, is in a very unique situation to bully the enemy team. And you want to find opportunities to be able to bully the enemy team. And when you're sitting back here, obviously it's very scary being up here and everything, but we're in a spot where we need to, you know, look for a push. But you've avoided this right side of the map basically the entire game. You don't necessarily want to drop because that's going to put you in a weird spot. But if the enemy team is, you know, pushing this left side very hard, or, you know, if they're sitting in this kind of spot and like blasters trying to shoot at your team, you can shark around this area and potentially look to drop on someone for an opportunity. But in these types of scenarios, and there's still plenty of time, like we're not in desperate situation, but I don't want you to be like hiding behind the rest of your team for the rest of this game. I want to see you be able to like try to make something out of something. Kill the enemy and score points, yeah. And as you get more comfortable, there'll be more creative ways for you to do it. That's super tough. You almost had the pick on the blaster, but yeah, it's probably gonna be the game here. The numbers are numbering. There you go. So Bab, you've needed to clear your clips for like since I've known you. Like at least a year left of Splatoon 2. Yeah, Trizuka got in some good spots, and some of that will get, oh, you deleted 800 clips. Sheesh. And a lot of the spots that you got yourself into where the Trizuka did get value is when you weren't taking those off angles that you can be strong in as a squeezer. So I think map. I just like overall map knowledge. So part of it is off angles, and outside of if you're playing squeezer or not, like I think finding off angles from your team. Like if your team is playing, the off angles is kind of like for your entire team. Because like if there's a world where you play this game and your dapples are constantly dropping the right side, and you may have your machine or mini holding this wall and looking to play top mid. And if that happens, then you holding this left side over here makes a lot of sense. But part of you playing this effectively is being able to adapt. And when you notice your teammates playing very vanilla, very default, you know, when we talked about this at the beginning, this is like the main ramp. And if you see your teammates taking the main way on offense and defense, then you're gonna want to look for ways to be able to play off of that, basically. And sitting behind them isn't necessarily the best situation, because that's where the Trizuka gets value. That's where this Range Blaster gets value. That's where, you know, Super Chomp to a certain degree gets some value. So you want to, the adaptation, it's hard and it takes time. But, you know, when you're holding on defense in this area, you clumped with your teammates a lot. When you were defending basket and coming off spawn, there was always like 3 of you all just dropping this way. And if you notice the rest of your team is in those spots, you want to see if there's another position that you can take. And I think this entire game, like holding this on offense and defense, like holding this on defense is good. And pushing this, there were so many spots. There was a spot you made it like right here, and then you ended up dropping this way. In that push, if you hold this way, you actually can probably break open the game there. You didn't have enough clams to where you're gonna like KO or anything, but like you're in a really strong spot, and it makes the enemy in a, you know, cry basically. Yo, Andrew, hello, welcome in, welcome in. Not sure I saw the Nova that game. I'm gonna be honest, I don't really know if I saw the Nova either. Might have just been popping whales all game, but yeah, a lot of this is gonna come with overall map knowledge. But you know, the other thing I would just say in general that relates to that, holy voice crack, is creativity. And this is not something that like you just fix. It's like, oh, I'll be more creative this time. This takes, you know, watching other people play, ideally watching the weapons that you play. But, you know, if you can understand the role that you're in, where you're mid-range, you're able to, you know, you can fight against short-range shooters very well, and you can hold space and you can bully in a lot of spots because of the mid-range. Then you know, if it might be hard to find a lot of squeezer players. I don't think there's like a ton, especially a ton that stream. But you can also look for other weapons that play a similar role. So if you're trying to figure out positioning, if you can find a really good player that plays, you know, like Kyo, when Kyo plays Stamper, like I think Stamper is a weapon that can do really well. There's a lot of Japanese players that have played a lot of 96 as an example. So 96 is definitely a weapon that you can, you can look to judge off of. Nautilus is another weapon, but anything that's kind of mid-range. Blaster to a little bit, but it's not the greatest thing. Ballpoint a little bit, but they have more range than you. But yeah, you know, if because you're probably going to run into this issue on other maps, and it's something that you can definitely work on. And you know, for Scorch as an example, this, and especially, you know, your end goal being this area or up here, is like what you're striving for. But whatever this is on other maps is going to differ. So it's something you need to look out for, you know? You mean Stamper and Bamboo? Oh yeah, Bamboo is another weapon that does this really well. So yeah, totally. But, you know, in any of those types of mid-range weapons, if you can find someone that's really good at the game, that either streams, or if there's like a VOD review or a tournament game, or if you watch competitive streams, you know, if you can find someone that plays that mid-range style, you can take their ideas of how they position on a lot of the different maps. And a lot of it will translate over pretty well. Reason I didn't go on the flank route is because of, you saw the zap in the range there a lot. True. That's fair. And that's where, you know, there were certain spots where the map's kind of divided like this. Like if it's even, the map kind of gets divided like this. And there's a lot of times where, exactly like you're saying, like they had Range Blaster and Zap in these types of spots. So I would look to try my best to like push them away from there. And if you're gonna push them out, you know, that's where you can take like some of these wider angles over here. And like, you know, hold this area and just kind of chill here. Because if the blaster is sitting right here, then there's a good chance you're probably not going to get dropped on, you know? So you can use this area and play this area and get a wall down and make them really uncomfortable to stay in these types of spots. And it's kind of like building on ideas. you know, I talked about it in a previous review, but a lot of times when you're playing Splatoon, you have to like reverse engineer what you're trying to do. So, you know, if we identify that you want to take this spot, when your team, you know, you want to hold this spot. If you can get into the spot as Squeezer, you're probably, you know, your team can be very effective and you can have a big push potentially. So, you know, in order to get to this spot, you need to cross this grate. In order to cross this grate, you need to be able to safely get to top mid. And, you know, like you're saying, you were in a spot where it's like, I can't take top mid because Range Blaster and Zap and everything's pushing this. And so you need to start thinking about, okay, how do we play around that, you know? And that might be, you know, as a wall. So for Squeezer, you can use your wall and potentially bully them out with your just using a wall and using your range. That might be enough. If you're not able to do it yourself, it may require, you know, Dapples running in and pushing in from this way and playing off of Dapples there. It might be, you know, your mini throwing a bubble top mid, and that gives you some more opportunity to do that. It might be, you know, a Booyah Bomb from your sloshing machine. You know, they throw a Booyah Bomb over here, and the enemy team has to back up completely, or you can potentially look to take fights as a team in mid. But we need to find those opportunities. And of course, if you wipe the enemy team, so like if you're defending over here and the enemy team trying to push and then you end up wiping them, which happened in a couple spots, or maybe there's one person left over here, then, you know, that's where if you're fast, you can get to this spot just based off timing windows alone, and your life is easy. So again, this goes back to the creativity, because and I like that you pointed out the Range Blaster and stuff being in the spots, because just knowing that this is a strong spot for you doesn't mean that like, oh, this, you know, I get there and we win. You know, the enemy team's going to kind of know that, and this bridge is very vulnerable because it's just a giant grate. So you're slow, and then we can shoot underneath it and from all angles, and you have to get to top mid, which is tough. And like, you know, it's a challenge to confidently get there and to be able to consistently get there. So we need to figure out creatively what are the tools and resources our team has to help me get there. And, you know, in solo queue and not in a coordinated environment, it can be hard. But if you're constantly looking for those opportunities and you see that your sloshing machine has Booyah, or you see that, you know, Dapples is pushing up here on the enemy team, you can use those as potential windows to look for an opportunity to push. But, you know, just because someone's holding a spot, like that is Splatoon. People are going to defend spots that you want to get to, and it's up to you to figure out how to counter, you know, their defenses based off of where they're positioned, based off of, you know, the resource differences, numbers advantages, so on and so forth. Spot's really valuable. The matchup kind of drove me away from there. Yeah. And you have to get a little bit more creative about it, approach it from different angles. And I think as the match developed, neither team was really taking this right side. So there may be times where you actually do drop out here, you know? Like maybe you drop out here and you like sneak over here and you get into this type of position and you can catch the enemy team off guard. Or maybe the enemy team is ready to push and they're pushing your main ramp and you drop from this ledge and you're able to stop them once they're up here, and you can put a wall, and then now the enemy team is squeezed between your team over here and then you holding this flank from behind. And trying to just think about all of these different options and being able to play them properly, you know, getting the wall down, being able to position well, being able to move through ink well, you know, constantly being able to move and dodge shots. I think all of the mechanical parts you're chilling with. I think you're good. But this creativity is going to break open the map in a lot of spots. And that's how you need to be thinking. How do I break open this game? How do I use my tools as a squeezer in the wall, in the range, in the Zuka in certain spots? Because there was a lot of lottery shots that you had that, especially like toward the early mid game, you got to pick with your main weapon, and then you end up shooting a shot and like went over this mid wall and like picked them off. So your team isn't relying on your Trizuka. So sometimes if you have your special, just launch some stuff over. Maybe you get it. I don't know. But that's how you need to think about the game. Which doing that is tough. That's the whole fun part of Splatoon, is breaking that down and figuring out in every scenario this comp versus this comp, and this person has special and this person has special versus this person has special and this person. How do we play this? There's so many constantly changing and constantly moving variables. It's hard to fully manage, and it's not something that you totally build, but definitely something to think about and ways to improve your gameplay over time. Really fun to watch Squeezer play. The Squeezer was clean. The more I think about it, Trizuka is one of my favorite specials. It's a really cool special. I actually don't know, because I haven't seen a lot of Trizukas. How does Trizuka work against Inkjet right now? Like, Inkjet's kind of tough, like if Inkjet has the jump on you, you're just kind of screwed. But like, is there a world if the enemy team is, if the ballpoint on the enemy team is Inkjetting the rest of your team, can you confidently snipe a ballpoint or confidently snipe a Inkjet in general with your Trizuka? I'm actually curious. You need to aim, yeah. Like you have to space a little bit closer than you probably would be comfortable doing, but I wonder if that's like a, not that, I don't, like, it's definitely not a counter, but if you're running something like Trizuka, I feel like I've never really seen it. Yeah, you have to be pretty close. I know the arc on Trizuka is like really awkward for those types of plays. Been trying to get better at Squeezer. Yeah, no, I think your Squeezer plays fine. There's a couple of spots, like you said, you tighten up your aim a little bit. There's, a time on, like, the range blaster was on, you were on your main ramp, the enemy range blaster was on your grate, and you got like a couple of shots on them, but like your spacing was a little off, and you were a little bit too far back, or maybe you like missed the shots a little bit left or right. But yeah, there's a couple of spots where if you tighten up a little bit, you probably can play a little bit better. But yeah, leading your shots as well. Yeah, Squeezer is definitely something that's pretty mechanically demanding. But when it comes to the adaptation and the creativity, that's where I don't know how intimate you are with the competitive community, but a lot of people like to say that certain weapons are like skillless, or you don't have to use your brain and this is an easy weapon or whatever. And the whole adaptation part of it and everything else that goes into you, like, understanding how to actually use your tools properly is the difference in a lot of these scenarios. Just because Splash is easy doesn't mean you know how to position with Splash, or you don't know, how you can position and what different angles you can take with burst bombs and all that other stuff. So it's just like, it's a silly thing. I think, people are in the competitive community are getting tired of it because it's a very, it's just a cringe take. Let's be honest. Let's call it what it is. It's cringe, but I don't know. The competitive community also has this unfortunate knack to want to constantly troll and never be serious about anything, which Splatoon competitive community is very casual on the spectrum of other competitive games, like very, 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 very casual, which isn't, it's not like it's a good thing or a bad thing, but you put it into context, and that's why a lot of that stuff ends up happening. That's why I try to carve out a little bit of a scenario where we're able to maybe have more in-depth discussions about the stuff that people just don't talk about. We're gonna quickly go over a BAB game. We played against the pickup that were kind enough to get together because we were looking for a scrim late night. And there's only a couple of games. Yeah, no, take care, take care. Tomorrow's the last day of the week for school, so try to finish strong, and hopefully if you play Zelda, hopefully you're able to have a nice open weekend for that. But thank you very much for the review code, and I appreciate your commentary and your feedback and comments throughout the VOD review. I'm kind of awkward, so I don't necessarily want to be in voice chat with everyone. So I don't think that'd be a good viewing experience for anyone. But I will say that, you know, people being, you know, live and here talking about it and giving in their feedback and their thought process throughout helps me a ton, and it makes it a lot more engaging for me. So I really appreciate your time with all that, but definitely go to sleep, make sure you're hydrated, and yeah, thank you very much. There's a little bit of a backlog of codes and everything, but this will eventually get condensed into a YouTube video. Eventually. But I am getting a lot faster with getting those out, so I might be able to get to a point where I can get 2 out a day, but that day is not today. Not yet. Did we win this? No. I think we actually got like stomped. I think we got hard stomped. But we'll see. I feel like we could have probably done more than we ended up doing. This positioning is like actually based. What the heck? I'm gonna be honest, I didn't even know that you were taking this kind of spot. I would say... So wait, where's Saf in this situation? Saf was me on left. Yeah, you don't have any support for this entire... I didn't know that you were going and taking mid. I probably, like, we could have taken more space. I think I would have liked to seen Saf a little bit closer with you, but yeah. I think some of this is muscle memory from playing Splash. But yeah, I think Saf could probably drop with you, and y'all can look to chill. Because yeah, holding this wall as a splash is like super based. I'm glad you took that spot. But you get the pain. You get the pain of playing Splash, which is your burst bombs hitting objects. So this burst bomb hitting the grate, this is the worst feeling imaginable. It doesn't paint, you wasted like half of your tank. It's a miserable experience. But yeah. Because I was still trying to slow down a little bit and kind of get crab out and everything. So I was a little bit slow helping. But I really, really, really like that positioning. And like the next time that we play this, I'm glad that you're taking it. Me when my burst hits nothing, yeah. I always throw it at those poles. Like they added all those poles just to troll me. It's like, it's actually so bad for your overall like ink economy and ink management and not getting any paint or any value out of burst bombs. So I do think in a spot like this, we'll see how it plays out first. Because I want you to be like way more aggressive. Yeah, we gave up a lot of space that we didn't necessarily need to, but I'm glad you stayed alive. I don't know what the heck the rest of us were doing. We're feeding smiley face. Yeah, we're looking at Bab scenario. But yeah, Bab, this is a spot. You're super chilling. Your crab is almost ready. I want you to position yourself so that you get crab out. You back up to our main ramp, and I don't want you to crab for main ramp. So there's a couple of spots where you can look to crab in this scenario. The safest one that gives us the most forward pressure is right here. You crab on top of, I'll go thicker on the pin because I'm not rating, I'm just circling. So this is probably the safest position where you can get angles, people over here. The biggest thing with this is that you can hit people around this block and you can play around this block well. But if you're going for this type of play, if the enemy team is bunched up over here, then you want to crab like here. Like you want to be kind of deeper into this lane and get a crab out there. The problem with that is that you can potentially get flanked from up top this way. You can get flanked from mid. And if you get too close, they can push you. Realistically, they're not going to push you from the front, but you do have to be careful about, you know, you're between two high points on this left and right side. So you have to ensure that there's not people there. And sometimes people might be on their snipe. So in order to take this type of aggressive play, either the timing has to be perfect where you get 1 or 2 expo shots and you know that's enough to get value out of the crab, or you have to know that these sides are clear and you can sustain this crab for a little bit longer, because the deeper you get, the deeper you can get shots back here. And if you sit up here, you can't, once they start retreating, you've lost that window. You know, like if they retreat, you can still get paint up here and like paint over here and stuff. Like you can still get value, but ideally you want to get deeper with your crab so you can actually affect this. The other thing is, like, if you're going to get to those types of spots, you can also sit top mid. But sometimes they like hold this wall, and I don't. If you take top mid, so crabbing top mid, you need to make sure the walls are clear and there's a little bit of a paint buffer around you. But if you have that paint buffer, you should take top mid. Top mid's super, super, super good. But if you take top mid and you haven't cleared out that buffer zone for the crab, you're going to get jumped on from every single angle and you just die and you cry and life is tough. So this helps simplify a little bit, but you do lose a little bit of value compared to top mid. But in a lot of spots, especially, so when Sun, at the very opening, Sun uses whale like here and will whale mid. I usually like to paint over here so that I get crab in this spot. And if I can get crab in like this deep spot as they retreat, that's where we get a ton of value. Ton of value. Hesitate to take position. I don't know if they all have follow up because the amount of times I've seen you explode. Yeah, it's fair. I think the thing is just kind of the timing windows. And I think for anyone that's using crab, like as someone that's playing off of crab, I'm constantly looking at my UI to see if you have special. Like obviously you're going to be calling it out and everything, but sometimes I'll kind of position in like spots and I'm like waiting for the crab to pop. In this spot, it took you a little bit to get the special, but yeah. But ideally when you have crab ready, you don't want to have to advance or not. You don't want to have to retreat all the way back to your main ramp. Crabbing up here is like chill, but if we're trying to actually like push, it's, you know, your angles aren't great. You can arc over top mid, you can hit top mid, you can still, you know, anyone that's trying to push you from left is in danger. But you know, if we're trying to get aggressive pressure, usually we're not going to get it from over there. But I think in that type of spot, I'd rather you have an average crab immediately versus like a very good crab a lot later on. Way too passive playing splash. Yeah. No. I've noticed. It's something that, again, I think you have to get more confident and more exposure and experience using crab in certain spots and understanding certain scenarios. I was watching back our the TC match that we played in pools. Like we were up 2-0 already and we already made great white, but we ended up we played that game 3 and we ended up losing it on Sturgeon TC. And there was a couple of spots that I ended up playing too passive that cost us some big pushes. Playing Splash and solo queue, more of a nightmare than I anticipated. Splash can definitely backline, but knowing the balance is where it's tough. Jeez, dude, the way that splat bombs roll in this game is like actually cursed. It like doesn't make any sense. But good movement and identification. Sheesh. Yeah, this might sound silly. This is unfortunate. If you don't have another teammate to shred the bubble with, so in this type of situation, you're in a really good spot, and I like that you're pushing up here. One thing that I would do instead is just get paint in your area if you want to challenge this, you should probably be doing it from top mid. But the overall idea that here, like, you can take. So in this type of scenario, I don't think or at least I don't think you know that like both of them are on this side of the map, but you do know that this area is totally free. I'd rather you sit back here and just get a ton of, like, just paint all of this and just get like this type of paint. If you get a special ready up here, like, we're chilling. And this is sometimes how you have to think about crabs. Like, if this person's gonna sit and bubble, like, we don't care. Just paint like everywhere else, and we're super chilling. But we don't necessarily, like, we don't need to like focus on shredding it because we don't get value out of it. They're like not even in a good spot, you know. But if you did want to shred, like, you could totally take top mid. Top mid's also like another like great place because you can go for the shred, but you can also like paint around this area and also get a fast crab. But if you sit here for too long, like, you're not getting that paint, and then yeah, I can feel it. Because yeah, at a certain point, it becomes the better play because you've committed to it for too long. But yeah, I think you just getting aggressive paint will get you a crab very fast, and you know you can crab in that spot, and the enemy team's crying. It's a very awkward position, but it totally works on this map. So like I like that you took the space at the beginning. Now you're enjoying the other part of Splash of dealing with Tetras. Over time, you get to a point where you just throw burst bombs at them. You just don't take engagements. Unless you know that they've exhausted all their rolls, you just throw burst bombs. It's so bad. It's actually so bad. Yeah. As a team, we need to be figuring out what special we're playing around. Dude, my bomb went kind of hard. Your bomb went hard, but our team bombs went hard there. Wait, what? I died. I think I died to a random bomb. Because me dying here is like awful. What did I die to? Oh yeah, I died to a random. I'm an idiot. This is like a really good push for us. Because yeah, I think you probably could be faster up top mid. I already died, so like this play is cursed because I already fed. But yeah. You're holding this left side because yeah, you're used to playing the stamper in the machine. But I think this is fine. But I think you could probably be a little bit faster to get this crab mid. But yeah, walking into a stupid bomb is tough. But the idea you had in your head there like was good. You might have been on left side a little bit too long, but you ended up getting burst bombs like on snipe and everything to help. So like that's like the overall, like what we need to be doing. You trying to RP as me? Tough. But we get the score. We're chilling. The clan spawns on this game are funny sometimes. Bro's movement is clean, dude. What is this? No, I opened map in that scenario. I was looking for something. You can't see when people look at map, unfortunately. That'd be super clutch. But... Bro's movement here goes crazy. Sheesh. And then just swims into a wall for no reason. We don't talk about it. I didn't see it. But yeah, nice setup for another crab. I like that you're holding top mid. But we'll see how you play this. Yeah, I don't like you defaulting to left side is the problem. Yeah, like you keep defaulting to the crabs over here when we have like a very clear advantage. But I again, I understand because you're not like comfortable on this map. So we'll go back a little bit when you're on the right side. Because I think there's a really good crab opportunity, so. Bro is scared. So yeah, this spot is great. Once they start throwing shit over here, you can still potentially look to get back into mid, and they end up throwing Tri-Strike. But in this kind of spot, if you crab up here, it's like if you climb this wall and then crab up here, we can fight for like pillow. Like we clear pillow from the spot. If anyone's hugging this side specifically, like you 90 them for days. So, you know, if we need to take pillow, which I think in this spot we probably do, then you can sit up here. But if they're retreating, then you'll probably want to be a little bit deeper, which ideally you can take top mid. But in general, when they start throwing Tri-Strikes and stuff, you can take this space. Not gonna play Splash on this map? I mean, you only played Splash on like 2 maps, so this is all we got. And we can also understand tendencies when you play, like, or we're understanding the passive nature, and we need to work to be a little bit more aggressive in some of these spots. On for it. The fuck am I doing? Oh, I grabbed Gray because we had a Gray ready. But the flank in the mid kind of stuffed our push. Pop off on the museum. Alright, I got you. I got you, fam. Bro's movement is clean, though. You can't deny Bab's movement is on another level. This is all also super minor, but it's very okay. If we're breaking down your movement like frame by frame, yes, it's not optimal. But when it comes to constantly moving and being able to stay alive, you're chilling. You're playing it really well. But one important concept you'll learn with Crab that everyone needs to do more. I know Saf's not playing Splash, but Saf needs to do it more. And when Sun plays Splash Neo, dude, watching Sun play Splash Neo is tough. But in these spots, when you almost have your crab ready, you need this play gets infinitely easier if you have a burst bomb ready. I think you need to manage your ink a little bit better. If you get a burst bomb just anywhere where there's a bunch of paint, it makes the crab like 1,000 times easier to connect with. Like there's certain spots where you can't combo the splash with a burst, the crab with a burst bomb when you're playing Splash. But anytime you're like close, you really want it. Just anywhere where there's like a giant patch of paint that they're trying to like move through, it makes everyone's life so much easier. It's Sun Splash Neo. I think Sun Splash Neo is like fine, but it's funny watching someone that does not play Splash because certain parts are tough to watch because he just doesn't have the experience. But yeah, that's unfortunate. And this type of wait, did we get killed here? That's unfortunate. One thing I will say though, in these types of scenarios, when the enemy team is like, when they're overcommitting here in past, Splash is really good. There's a lot of other weapons that are really good at it, but Splash is totally fine to drop here and just like cut off their paint, trap them here, don't let them escape, and the rest of our team can like make plays. So I think this is a scenario, instead of having to take an awkward fight against a Tetra because they just reef slidered in and I got clapped. I think after your crab, I think you can push here. You drop instead. Yeah, I actually don't know where I'm positioned. This. I was looking back at our losses, like the Rainmaker game that we lost against like Kaisa and all them. It was tough. Oh, I got booyed. I think I swim in after. Because you haven't crabbed yet. Yeah, I'm holding top left, which I think is fine, but... yeah, that's tough. I've never seen a Tetra like have as much reef slider as this Tetra in this game. It was crazy. Oh no, I could have dropped, but like dropping this way would be weird. But dropping here, like, I don't know. If the reef slider, if they didn't have reef slider, this play I think is lit. But like having to reposition this way it's a big waste. I think, especially with when Saf goes down, like I think holding paint here is good. We just need to be able to capitalize. That reef slider, like I'm not even kidding, reef slider actually won them this game. It was wacky and zany and quirky. Like it actually cooked our entire team. Yeah, like at the very beginning of that play, like I died to the Booyah Bomb, and then Saf, when I started swimming back in, Saf got picked from something, and then I came in and tried to play for Crab, and we were not in a good spot to defend. But we need to work, like, yeah, I think the drop is fine. Like, there's nothing else you can do as a Carbon, you know? Although Carbon dropping right side actually isn't a bad idea. I don't feel like going back into the game, but if Carbon wanted to drop right side, I don't hate that play. Because in that scenario, we should be giving up the score, but if we can clean up, even if they take lead, which I think if we get the drop in time, maybe there's a chance they don't even get lead, but even if they take lead and we wipe them, I think we don't need a big push to actually win the game. So I think Carbon dropping rate in those types of defenses is probably better, maybe? It's all time and place. It's all time and place. My name's Samantha. Yeah, you popped off. Is this the game you want to look at, Bob? Holy. Wait, why was this game close? No, we'll look at Clem's, man. We'll look at Clem's. Now, Saf's Carbon's been going super, super hard. Is actually really clean. Like your patience is improved significantly. I still think there's certain times that sometimes you push a little bit too fast. Like you try to force a little bit too hard on Carbon, but then there's other games where you play there's a couple of moments that I've seen you on Carbon that I legit feel like I'm watching Volty. And your play is super, super clean. I just think that I think you're in a scenario where you're still learning Carbon and there's habits from Splash and habits from, not being as aggressive, or maybe scenarios where you're playing too desperate. There's still habits that you have to unwind, which comes with time. It's not something that you just immediately fix, but hopefully it's something that you're identifying with your own play. On when you're being overly desperate and, so I would say that the two biggest things with your Carbon play that I'd like to see you improve, one of them is you'll position a splash in certain spots. Vulture. Wait, that's clean. There's certain times where you'll run back to Sun when our team's at a disadvantage. And again, I think it's just habits, and especially it's not PTSD, it's not the right word, but it's it comes from you playing a ton of Splash, because if you're playing Splash, like those places are relatively lit, but as a Carbon, like you can hold forward. And as I'm learning on defense when we're backing up, I probably can take slightly more aggressive, sharkier spots as a even as a Splash, but when you have to when you force yourself into defensive positions as a Carbon, like sometimes it's kind of a hard throw. So but again, there's other times where like you don't do it and you like play it super well. So like I can understand that like you're still new to the weapon. Like you have a lot of experience, but you're at this point where you still need more experience in order to shake off the other weapons. And you know, not having you play Splash is a good way to, you know, have you really hone in on the weapons that you're going to be playing more often. Yeah, that and like a little bit of desperation is probably the two things on Carbon that I would say you'll get better with over time. But right now it's just like you're there's just inconsistent moments because you're still getting used to it. But yeah, you're popping off. What time do I have time to think? Yeah, for sure. I must have been on autopilot. I don't know why I picked up the Rainmaker. Sometimes I get concerned. Like sometimes I feel like Sun picks up Rainmaker like 1 or 2 seconds too slow, and I'm just like, I don't know. I'm always scared we're gonna lose out on the timing window. We're chilling. We're chilling. Yeah, there's definitely spots I should pick up Rainmaker, but I don't know. Like Sun needs more time. Sun needs more time to get better awareness when it comes to like Splatoon objectives, if that makes sense. Like in terms of positioning and especially like backline stuff, like Sun's able to aggregate knowledge from all the other shooters that he's played, and he's like, you know, Fortnite gamer popping off. But sometimes his awareness and the way that he plays tower control and Rainmaker, sometimes I get a little nervous. Or should I post a clip I'm proud of? Oh wait, did I get rid of the clip channel? I'm gonna rename clips channel or stream clips to just clips. So now there's a clip channel. You can post it in there. I purged a lot of the Discord channels because I just want to like simplify. We had a clips channel? Sort of. No. This isn't like my channel, not the team Discord, but the funny Phoenix looking one. Bro should have shredded with me. It's probably better you stay alive, I'm gonna be honest. Cause yeah, we can just combo off your crab. Dude, throwing burst bombs on bottom mid this map is like really awkward. I can't lie. It's something I actually need to work on. Nice. I'll do another crab. Yawn. We get it. You play Splash. Crazy. Nice shots. Brother? Mm. How I could have seen? What do you mean? What do you mean? Why do you think I stopped it in the first place? Like it's fine. I'm just poking at you just because it's funny. Like this can definitely happen. Yeah, I was about to say I blinked. I don't. Okay, eyes were closed. Thank you. You didn't turn on your monitor. Yeah, actually. Otherwise, it was a super nice play. Wait, you actually wouldn't have noticed? I'm super aware of that specifically because I'm gonna like I want to clear people off those areas. So anytime I'm going near spinner, I'm always like hyper focused on all the different walls. We steering wheel. Damn. I'm using bill control. You had the headphones cranked up and you heard them, but unfortunate. I've been there. I do like the positioning here. Dude, dolly physics are so goofy. When they roll in midair, like look at the look at this goober up here. We're like frame by frame. They immediately go away in like 6 frames from top of the ledge. And they do it again, dude. No. Uh, they did stall though, but that's crazy. Wait, why didn't they take lead? Oh no, they took it. They almost threw there. I could not aim at this person. It was tough. How did they throw this game? Does Bat pop off here or what? Okay. Bro, the dual crab. Bring us league play, dude. This is gonna be us in league. We're gonna be duoing and we're just gonna terrorize the whole the whole server with double crab. Is this about the Sun was talking about bombs getting thrown and stuff, but like they're always gonna throw bombs at Sun anyways. That's that. That's a level of confidence I don't know if I have. I respect it though. Alright. Wait. What the? We're just soloed their team with a fucking splash. I'll let it play out in its entirety. Alright, I'm gonna be honest, I don't know how you got them through the I don't know how you got them through the beacon. You're lucky that that stuff got shredded. I died at juniors all the time by trying to go for this play because I'm shooting the beacon. I just built diff. Easy. Easy, dude. I'm throwing. Can't get this guy off crab. He just does not stop popping crab. Yeah. Baits on, dude. Easy peasy. Get out of my game. Dude, this is a Giga Chad shark over here. I love this. Like a Mission Impossible ducking under this whale. Like they don't get any information from it, but it's just funny. We didn't even get the pick. Alright, that was clean. I didn't know you popped off with the quad. I remember you got a bunch of kills there. I didn't know that you diff the. Wait, did you vertical flick the rain? Or burst moment? Just hanging out. No, that position is super dope, bud. Like that's the thing. It's nice that it's nice when I can trust teammates to like take those types of spots. That's the nice thing about Carbon. Is like I can trust like meticulous play because that's like what Carbon does. All right, then real quick we'll go Saf Cam because we're doing a congratulations tour with the rest of our team. Gotta watch the clip. Alright, there. Probably sleep after this though. For real, for real. I don't have a way of pulling this up on the stream because I don't have the technology currently. Dude, that roller just like flung a million places in the air. Oh no, I'm missing goodies. Oh, I'm missing so much. I miss both stuff going on. Wait, the hammer, the quad hammer. Wait a minute. I'm gonna say you KO'd after the end of that clip. I don't know what happened with that Kraken roller. That thing just like spun around and stuff. That was crazy. But thank you for sharing. I do think that we actually should like more consistently play around. Like I think Bab and Saf need to pair up with Fizzy Bombs. Like Fizzy Bomb to help with giving some space for Saf. Like we talked about it on Mako, but I think it's something we need to make sure we're incorporating on like everything. Cause yeah, otherwise like Saf doesn't have anything to do. Let me get these awkward spots. But I don't know why I went left at the beginning here. If I was farther right, I was chilling. Like this whole thing gets avoided if I paint right side. I don't know why I went left. So I'm pretty sure I asked, and I'm pretty sure I think Sun said that he was holding left, but I just like ignored it or something. I don't know. I love this move. I love this positioning. Because you could have pushed up even farther. Like obviously there's a play there, but super lit. Also, okay, so I don't play rollers. This is something I actually need feedback from. I know Saf plays a lot of rollers, and Babby probably have experience too. There's a lot of spots, Saf, where you'll flick into like, and usually it's in defensive positions, but you'll stay in painter mode and you'll like paint around. Like, do you have like a rule of thumb when it comes to like painting in those types of positions? Because it doesn't really seem like bad or good, but like if I was playing Carbon, I would like never roll near. So when you like roll, when you actually like in roller mode, you're just like painting and everything. Yeah, sometimes people do it a little bit for the feed paint, but sometimes Saf will like paint a little bit of an area with it. And I don't know if there's like thought into it or not, but I know that Saf plays a lot of rollers, so it might just be like Dynamo Instinct. it's never used in bad spots. It's only done in like defensive spots, so I think it's like generally okay. But I've seen you do it enough that I thought I'd just ask. Dino, okay, gotcha. Like it works. I don't think you use it at bad times when you're using it on Carbon, but it was an interesting part of your the way that you played it, and I just assumed it was probably from other roller experience. But yeah, like right there you did it a little bit to paint your feet, and like that makes sense to me. Sheesh. That Splash is lucky to make it out with their life. Yo. How do I pronounce your name? Is it Asa? AIS? Ace? Thank you so much for the sub. That's super, super, super generous. 6 months. Holy macaroons. What the? Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Isa? Oh, I see. Okay. Gotcha. Thank you for the clarification and thank you for the patience. Really appreciate you, friend. Belonk. I will say sometimes, I don't think it's bad for aggressive weapons to pick up clams, but there's certain times where y'all take my clams as a splash player and it makes me so, like, it doesn't make me mad, but it like really throws off our pushes. And like, holding clams, I was trying to say crabs and clams together, but like holding clams is totally fine. But yes, sometimes I'm going... Sometimes I'm going for a pot and then y'all just like legit cut in front of me like we're in a movie or something. And y'all are just trying to troll me. Yeah, y'all are just yoinking my stuff. And it's it's only when I have like 5. I'm like 1 pot away from making a ball and we're ready to go on offense. And we always end up with like 2 people with like 6 or 7 clams, and then it's just a nightmare. Burb, holy macaroons. 35 million. 1 for every XP that you've farmed in solo queue. How was the stream? A is a boring name. I see. Hopefully everything went well. Hopefully you were farming. I don't even know what weapons you're playing these days. I feel like you play everything. The solo queue special. Are you still playing Big Swig or are you playing some other stuff? Ooh, nice. Yeah, Burb is I consider myself pretty good at this game. Burb is on a way another level. So if you want to see trolley weapons played effortlessly in farming solo queue, yeah, Burb's the GOAT. Also, Burb, I think I saw on Twitter, like, I think it was your partner or someone with like posted art. I think it looks super sick. Although I said, grats on the art. It looked really nice. But nice that the rest of your stream went well. Gotcha. Super cool stuff. But yeah, thank you so much for the raid. Right now we're just kind of we're actually getting close to ending the stream, so we'll probably move this over to someone else. But I was giving my teammates a chance to shine with some of their gameplay. Oh yeah, this is another thing I was gonna mention. Oh, well, the game bugged out. Never mind. I like that when you did this way, you like put your fist in the air. Yeah. When you're on these types of thin walls like this, they can see the little ripples almost always. And also another thing that like I'm pretty sure everyone knows, but I only recently learned. But if you're like making ripples on a vertical wall, the second that you let go, you won't make ripples all the way down. So like if you need to drop off of a wall stealthily, you can just let go of the left stick and you'll slowly make it down. So I'll like give to the next person. And then just go to the walls would be kind of crazy. I'm here for it. Extra silly. Yeah, there's another spot where you're you're just playing a power wash simulator. Yo, Evan Woodward, thank you for the follow, my friend. Hope you're having a good night. Like, it's not really good or bad. It's just it's a very Saf thing to do. Whenever I see it, I'm like, oh no, that's a Saf moment. Yeah, I'm trying to debate on when I want to get the new Zelda game. Because A, it's like $70, which is crazy. But B, I don't know. Like, I feel like I'm not really gonna play it right now, but I'm gonna play it eventually. I like the overall movement there. I don't know why they're pushing you. That's crazy. Oh, sped up is funny. Yeah, the new Zelda game. I'm not sure when I actually want to like get it, if that makes sense. It's so funny bowling people over with crab. That's so bad. Yeah, person was stuck on left forever. But it's okay that we don't necessarily push them immediately because like they can't really do anything. I like that you in real time we noticed the exact moment where you realize that you had a ball. And you're like, oh, I can score those. Yeah, no. I was surprised that you scored. I'm like, wow, someone went for a really like sneaky play to stall the game. I'm here for it. But watching it in the replay is hilarious. Try going with the tri-strike and the booyah. Yeah. No, that was a good play, but I like the restraint. I don't know if I would have thrown the burst bomb, but it wasn't bad. But like you threw it and you knew that you weren't gonna be able to go in, so I think it was fine. But you're able to navigate out of that play, which was kind of most important. I saw my life flash before my eyes with that hammer. I was so happy that someone actually got the pick on them. What are we doing? This is the goofiest. What is happening? Oh my god. Wait, actually diffed. What the heck? Y'all are like taking drip picks while I'm popping crab trying to end the game. That's crazy. Sorry. I messed up the whole end game. My bad, my bad. Didn't even bother finding the other person. Just disrespecting with a second Zuka on their dead body. I respect it. I actually respect them. Oh man. Well, we had the pretty decent SOS run. I'm upset that we didn't win the Undertow Rainmaker game. There's definitely a chance we could have taken it to a game 3, but I played the Undertow game. After we had a big lead, I played it really poorly. So, unfortunate on my end, but yeah. Anyways, I don't know if I'm going to find a single person playing Splatoon at this hour. But while I try, let me just say, so much support from so many of you all. Familiar faces, new faces, very much appreciated. We had a gargantuan raid from Burb, from Juan, and Milana at the top of the stream. So I appreciate all of you. I appreciate the ebb and flow. Yo, Brandon, thank you so much for the follow. I've appreciated the flow of all the reviews and VOD reviews and everything. For me, it's been a really fun time. Hopefully, people are finding value out of it, and over time, I'm working on some, you know, the technology side and the presentation side to help with it. So like getting an overlay when we're doing reviews so that we like see the name of the person we're reviewing and have some more information there. There's a lot of stuff I'm trying to work on, getting chat on screen and like formatting all of that stuff. So hopefully we'll have some cleaner, nicer looking streams here moving forward. But for right now, we're stuck with my lack of time to get all this stuff to be figured out. Yeah, sound alerts. Oh, I need to get that set up. I need help knowing what sound alerts to go for. I don't know. I think if I gave you a Vine Boom, you'd be satisfied, but I'm not sure if there's something specific that I could provide for you. So it looks like a lot of people are playing Tears of the Kingdom, Splatoon gamers. Let's go raid Soda. Oh yeah, that's pretty. But like, what's the context? Why would we ever use that in a stream context? I'd feel like you just like spam it all the time for no reason, which I guess is fine. But I'll work on getting some. I need to get emotes commissioned, but I also need to figure out how emotes look. That's something that's been plaguing me for the longest time. Trust. All right. Gonna be a nightmare, but at least it'll be an entertaining nightmare. But yeah, again, thank you all. Heck you, Trig. I would never. Only if Trig could use it. Like, it's only Trig's to use. But, and maybe Celeste as well. Anyways, thank you all. And I'll be back tomorrow. Again, I'm not going to be getting Zelda for a while. So I'll be back to the Splatoon grind and everything. And if there's other people that are looking to get their replays reviewed, we'll definitely be continuing with those strong. I'm going to guess there's probably going to be a little bit of a lull while people play other games, but that'll help me catch up on the YouTube side and getting all these videos made. So we'll look at that as time for us to rebuild. So anyways, again, thank you all. Soda is a competitive streamer or competitive Splatoon player. I think relatively new to competitive, but very good at Splatoon. Very chill, or new to the competitive side, but very comfortable in Splatoon. But very chill. And should be fun. If you're avoiding Zelda spoilers, be careful. But otherwise, enjoy yourselves. Have a good night. Get water. And hopefully we can all make it to the weekend in one piece. So take care. Have a good night. I will catch you all tomorrow if you are here.